America's top diplomat is returning to Israel. Lisa Brady, Fox News. This amid growing tension over the fighting in Gaza.
This will be the sixth trip to Israel for Secretary of State Antony Blinken since the Hamas terror attack in October and ensuing war in Gaza. Blinken is also meeting with leaders in Saudi Arabia and Egypt today and tomorrow. The visit to Israel comes as President Biden warned Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu against the ground invasion of Rafah, a southern city in Gaza where more than 1 million Palestinians are seeking refuge.
Fox's Jared Halper. Next week, an Israeli delegation is due in Washington to hear the concerns and discuss alternatives, though the prime minister has said they have to enter Rafah. Right now, President Biden remains on the road, visiting Arizona and Texas today as part of a swing through battleground states focused in part on Latino voters, as recent polls show him losing ground with them. On Capitol Hill, another hearing in a Republican-led impeachment inquiry.
Today's hearing is turning into a proxy war between Team Biden and Team Trump, with Democrats arguing that Donald Trump is full of influence peddling and Republicans arguing President Biden is the same.
Fox's David Spunt at the Capitol, where the president's son, Hunter Biden, declined to appear for the public hearing after giving a closed-door deposition. Republicans calling some of his former business associates, including Tony Bobulinski.
I'm simply here to tell the truth to the American people.
The Democrats called Lev Parnas, a former Rudy Giuliani associate convicted of false statements and wire fraud.
Rudy Giuliani, on behalf of them, President Donald Trump tasked me with a mission to travel the globe, finding dirt on the Bidens so that an array of networks could spread misinformation about them.
Telling lawmakers he found no evidence of corruption. Police in Idaho just confirming that an inmate and an accomplice are missing after an armed escape from a Boise hospital overnight. 2 corrections officers seriously wounded. A third was also shot and wounded when arriving officers mistook the officer for the suspect. America is listening to Fox News.
You can live out your MasterChef dreams when you find a professional on Angie to tackle your dream kitchen remodel. Connect with skilled professionals to get all your home projects done well. Inside to outside, repairs to renovations. Get started on the Angie app or visit Angie.com today. You can do this when you Angie that.
Tax Talk with Straight Talk.
You give and you give. This tax season, you get with Straight Talk Wireless. You get a reliable 5G network and unlimited data and a Samsung Galaxy A14 included when you buy an extended Silver Unlimited plan. So you can give your janky phone to your kid. Yeah!
Switch to Straight Talk. Find us at Walmart and StraightTalk.com. For network management practices, visit StraightTalk.com. Device offer ends 4/14/24. Taxes and fees apply.
Air Comfort Service, heating, cooling, and insulation. Weather.
Chief Meteorologist Dave Murray.
Plenty of sunshine. The good news, the winds are lighter, but temperatures are a good 10 degrees cooler. 55 for the high later on today. Tonight, clear and cold, a quick drop out of the 50s into the 40s for evening plans. 32 for the low. Thursday, partly sunny, cold start, chilly day Thursday. 48 for the high. Friday, partly sunny, couple of limited rain showers possible, and 62. This is 97.1 FM Talk. Chief Meteorologist Dave Murray.
When you have Rhino Shield on your house, it does a couple of things for you. It beautifies the house, and it protects it from the harshest elements. And boy, do we see those here in the greater St. Louis area. You get instant curb appeal. It will stick to anything. Rhino Shield is the answer, no matter whether you're painting a home or a church or a business or a condo, because it's 100% waterproof. It takes care of the outdoor maintenance on whatever is on the outside of your home. The brick, the block, aluminum, steel, stucco. They can put this on with the 2 to 3 coat process. They're there about a week, and they do a great job. A lot of businesses have done it in the area. Several Firestones have done that. Vantage Credit Union over the years. Harlan Packaging down in DeSoto. Call Darren today and schedule your free estimate. 877-25-RHINO. Easy to remember phone number. Or go online today at 877-25rhino.com.
Download the free Upside app and earn real cash back every time you buy gas. Download the free Upside app now and use promo code GIFT for an extra 25 cents per gallon on your first fill-up. That's promo code GIFT.
Getting quality employees to fill positions in your company is essential. But finding those people can be a major hassle, unless you use ZipRecruiter. ZipRecruiter makes finding quality people a breeze. And right now you can try it for free at ZipRecruiter.com/radio. With ZipRecruiter, one click sends your job to hundreds of top job sites. But more than that, ZipRecruiter's advanced technology identifies the candidates with the skills you need, sends you a list of great matches to review, then actively invites them to apply for your job. And the results speak for themselves. 4 out of 5 employers who post on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. That's right, the first day. Now you can focus on your business and let ZipRecruiter do the work finding the best people for you. See for yourself. Experience the ease, efficiency, and power of ZipRecruiter for free. Just go to ZipRecruiter.com/radio. That's ZipRecruiter.com/radio. ZipRecruiter.com/radio.
The Annie Fry Show YouTube live chat poll of the day is sponsored by Ruler Foods. Low prices, no coupons. Ruler Foods.
That is exactly what I needed to hear.
Thank God someone here knows what they're talking about.
That's us. That's right. Gotta love this American ride.
All right, you need to take the time and get the full picture.
Come on, turn the radio on. It's Saturday and I won't be long.
Don't get me wrong. I love the ladies. I mean, they rev my engine, but they don't belong in the newsroom. It is Anchor Man, not Anchor Lady.
What do you want from me? I'm not America's sweetheart.
Goodness sake, kid. Keep your voice down. Your father's listening to the radio.
I'm not America's sweetheart.
This is the Annie Fry Show.
Welcome back to the Annie Fry Show here on 97.1 FM Talk. Thanks for being with us on a Wednesday afternoon. Got an exciting show for you lined up today. Joe Concha is going to be with us in about 15 minutes or so, 20 minutes, more like 20 minutes. And I'm going to talk to him about the state of the media. Because right now, I'm looking through about 6 or 7 different stories that I could start the show off discussing with you. And in almost every case, there is what's really happening versus the narratives that are being thrown out there towards you. The idea that something can be real, but then it gets kind of laundered a little bit through the media. It can happen on conservative outlets, certainly just as much as it happens on some of our favorite to pick on agenda-driven leftist media outlets. But I'm reminded with all of these, with all of these intentionally swaying stories that are being covered in a particular way, that they're all trying to get something out of you. And all you're trying to do, probably, the majority of you, no matter where you fall in the political spectrum, all you're trying to get out of them is the truth. So we have this kind of quiet handshake agreement between the two of us, the media and ourselves. All right, I'm looking for truth. You're looking for persuasion. I have a persuasion. I'll lean to this I'll lean to this outlet, or maybe lean against that. And then if you're like me and you really want to get to the bottom of something, you have to source any particular story across multiple different outfits. And then if you see an element that is reported the same way in 3 different places, you kind of feel a little bit stronger about, okay, this is part of the actual truth. And then said outlet takes that and expounds upon it. There's also a difference between, and I don't say this as a cop-out, I say this because this is the truth, that when you come to this show, it's the Annie Fry Show, this is my thoughts on what's going on. We're not a straight news show. We're not a straight news talk station. We are a talk station. There is an element of when you come to me that I kind of assume that you have heard some things before you got here. I don't feel, it would be pretty pretentious, I think, of me to think that you flip on the radio on 97.1 FM Talk to hear St. Louis is home for conservative talk, and this is the first thing that you've heard all day, and you don't understand that, for instance, the headline story on Fox News is that Biden finalizes crackdown on gas cars, forcing more than half of new car sales to be electric. So what is the element of truth that comes into the story? Because I know the context that I bring to reading this article is that probably the predominant, prevailing emphasis that the Biden administration has had from the beginning is their effort to transform this country into a green energy-focused country, come hell or high water. That's kind of ironic. in order to make sure that we are focused on the climate, really above all else, you've been asked by your government officials to make sacrifices because it's just what's best. And you know how you know? It's because they've told you. That's how you know. That's supposed to be enough. Fox News reports that the Biden administration has finalized a slate of highly anticipated environmental regulations curbing gas-powered vehicle tailpipe emissions as part of its broader efforts to reduce greenhouse gas emissions and combat global warming. In a joint announcement Wednesday, the White House and Environmental Protection Agency, you know it as the EPA, unveiled the most aggressive multi-pollutant emission standards ever finalized. While the regulations target gas-powered vehicles, they are explicitly designed to push wider nationwide adoption of electric vehicles. And, according to officials, are expected to ensure nearly 70% of all new car sales are zero emissions. In how long of a time? In a few years. So if you're brand new to this information, if you just crawled out of your cave and you're like, oh, what's going on? Ooh, green emissions. We've made a lot of progress here. It looks like things are really looking up for a more environmentally friendly attitude towards how we transport and power and fuel all of the things. It's not just cars or buses. Is this a practical way to impress this upon American citizens? Is this going to crush American citizens? What is the cost that the American citizen is going to have to pay right now? Is the rest of the world going to participate in this? While we are working to save planet Earth, does China give a damn about anything that we're doing? Or are they going to pick up where we leave off and manufacture the things that people want to buy across the world that don't have such strong restrictions on? And honestly, at the end of the day, the amount of emissions that would be saved by the measures that are put into place by the greenies, the people at the EPA and the politicians and lobbyists that support them. Pretty sure it was Senator Kennedy was questioning them about some, I think they wanted upwards of $1 trillion or something outrageous, billions and billions of dollars for a green initiative. And he was like, how would this affect the average temperature of the earth? Give me a number. And they're like, we don't have a number. We don't really know. We're just kind of hoping. And he said, so you want me to take this many dollars away from the American people to invest in this, and you can't even tell me what the targeted goal is? And no, they can't. I think that a lot of Americans would be excited to be a part of something that was going to help save and restore Earth. I mean, I've heard theories. I pretty much say this about every topic I discuss. I'm not an expert. I am not a lawyer. I am not an economist. I am also not an environmental scientist. Brad, have you ever heard the theory that because we've cleaned our air so much that the ability for the sun to warm the Earth through a non-smogged atmosphere has caused the Earth to change temperature because we have cleaner air?
I have not heard that.
I've heard that many times, and I've logged it in the smarter than me file folder in my brain.
I mean, I guess it could make sense. You know, the sun is unimpeded. There's not a layer of smog reflecting UV lights and all that other, or UV lighting and all of that other stuff out back into space. Some of that stuff, some of that solar radiation getting through, having a faster path. Yeah, surface temperatures and stuff like that.
Not creating like a furnace around the Earth where you're holding all the heat in with that.
Yeah.
I don't know. The question is to you as a taxpayer, who you're paying in Biden inflation level prices for everything. Do you say, you know what, you're right, Joe Biden, we should be driving predominantly electric vehicles in a few years, and I'm willing to sacrifice what I need to do to save the planet? Isn't the only thing missing there, how are we saving the planet? Like, what's the payoff here? If I go ahead and manage to rearrange how I live. I know this for a fact in the state of Illinois that one of the requirements is per bay in a new home. I think it's per bay of a garage that you have, you're supposed to have an electrical outlet. New neighborhoods going up, you can't charge more than one car at a time, let alone an entire neighborhood plugging their cars in. So you want to have enough electric vehicles for Americans to utilize so they can get from A to B, but how? And Brad, when you plug that car in, how's that power happen?
Well, in Illinois, coal. It happens at coal. And in some other areas, natural gas, all those sorts of things. The amount of green energy in the United States is just a fraction of the larger portion of energy that comes from basically fossil fuels.
See, and it's this type of, thank you, Nat, for listening to the show. I appreciate you being there and livening up the algorithm on YouTube every day with the people who are watching us on the Annie Fry YouTube channel. Nat says, I say he, like I know it's a he.
Yeah.
Nat says, a gradual movement to EV cars, the horror. Okay, sarcasm noted, if not implied. Correct me where I'm wrong here. Do you remember in the State of the Union, wasn't it not this one, but the one before, where he said, we wouldn't need fossil fuels by 2030?
Yeah.
What the hell, dude? I mean, now when you look at him now, you're like, oh, he was slipping already. I got you. Like that, in that context, it makes a little bit more sense. Going back to what I said, Nat, if you missed it, the understanding that we would participate in making, well, let me put it this way. I'm going to put it this way. Respecting the world that God made for me and you, but respecting God's creation. I am 100% for it. And I have made intentional changes, and some of them are little, one small thing that you can do and that I can do that contribute to less waste, more reusable products in our lives. I'm not opposed to that. I'm not even opposed to the idea of having an electrical car or a hybrid vehicle. It's not practical. And just like everything else with this administration, these types of things get pushed out, press released, championed. Yay, look what we're doing for the environment. And all of the people who hear that as a whistle to about face and say, see, that's right. He's our guy. He's our fighter. It's not going to happen like this. It's not going to just be implemented this way because it's not practical. So when you comment a gradual movement, yes, I'm with you. I think he's like one of the clap people. Or she.
I've been under the assumption that Nat was a she.
I think it's kind of probably psychologically telling that Brad thinks it's a she and Annie thinks it's a he. Either way, I'm for the gradual, but when you pay attention to what the Biden administration is saying, according to officials, they're expected to ensure nearly 70% of all new car sales are zero emissions within a few years. I would like to see that. And I would like to see it without crippling other parts of the economy that you don't give a darn about crippling, that involve real American people and real American lives. And I would like to know the payoff. I would like to know that if the target is zero emissions, what is the actual target of how does that change the things that are threatening the end of the world if we don't actually go and solve all of these problems? Because I know that the alternative is if you elect Donald Trump to be the president in November, if Americans show up and invest their vote in Donald Trump, those pipelines, they're going to be open.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, not day one, second one. Donald Trump, drill, baby, drill. He said it. That's a quote from him and most other Republicans. That doesn't mean that doesn't happen at the same time that you are still pursuing greener energy processes, but it just has to be practical. And we have already seen where the vast, disgusting, un-American overreach of the Biden administration, what they are willing to tell you how to do in your life for a cause that they can't justify with actual goals and numbers is, I'll go back to the word I already said, un-American. Gas stoves, But the queen herself, Kamala, she can have a gas stove on, I think it was New Year's Day. Oh, Happy New Year. I'm just standing in front. Oh, don't look at that. Don't look at that. Not minding the business behind me where the gas stove is right behind her in her kitchen. They want to tell you the cars to drive. They want to tell you the shower heads to use. One of my favorite riffs of Donald Trump's is when he's talking about taking a shower. It's a weird thing to say. I understand that has conjured an image that you're like, Annie, easy. He says and he's right. You got to take a shower that is 3 or 4 times as long to get the soap and the suds and everything off. I wonder how long it takes him to shampoo that hair.
Oh, man.
I wonder what the regimen is. But I'm actually thinking, I'm kind of glad he doesn't go into the toilet situation. But the low flow toilet flushes, this is all stuff that's coming to solve the problem. If you have to flush the toilet 3 or 4 times to take care of the business that you're trying to take care of because the toilet isn't doing the trick, you're not necessarily saving on what the process that has been implemented and pressed upon American citizens on every which way you turn. Go look at California and look at all the lifestyle requirements that you have there. And know that that's a thing that they're championing. And while if we did everything to a T, 100% A+, is China going to do any of it? And how much of the total effect on the globe can we have by doing things 100% correctly when China's like, we do not care. We are not interested. That's cute. We're going to keep on keeping on. All the context that goes into understanding where these stories come from and bringing them all together is really important when you take a source from Fox News. If you go onto and dive into MSNBC or NBC News or whatever, there's an element of truth in almost all of it. Your exposure to the context and the timeline that involves even more context is where you're going to find truth. And it's just, I think, unfortunate that we all have to dig so deep to get it these days. Joe Concha is going to come talk to us about the media coverage, and I'm excited to discuss. I don't know, really, on any given day that Joe Concha comes on here, it could be a bloodbath of an onslaught, a massacre of facts heaved upon you in a suffocating fashion where you go, oh my gosh, Joe Biden's the worst. I don't need Joe Concha here to do it, but there's nobody who does it quite like Joe Concha. So he's going to come join us. When we come back, 5 minutes, we'll be right back.
This is the Annie Fry Show. Find the podcast, on-demand audio, and more at 971talk.com/Annie.
All right, here's the thing.
I want to talk to you about the Retirement Advisory Group. Thomas Helbig, my friend, he's going to be in here in a little bit to talk to you about this seminar that is coming up. And I'm going to be there. I hope you'll be there too. I would love the opportunity to meet you and talk to you about how long you've listened to 97.1, if you've listened for a long time, if you're new to the station, and get to know you a little bit. This event that he's having is to educate you on how to protect yourself when you are shifting out of working into retirement. If you're of that age, if you are nearing 60 and you know that it's time to make some smart moves, timely moves, so you don't have to worry about what's going on in the market, you don't have to worry about dramatic ups and downs, that you're safe and secure, this is the event for you. It's Tuesday, March 26th. It starts at 6:30 p.m. I'm going to be there with Mark Cox and Mark Reardon starting at 6 p.m. and say hello to as many people as I can before 6:30. And it's free. It costs you nothing. And he has snacks. How do you pass up free snacks? The event will last about 45 minutes once it gets going, and you'll be able to hear how Thomas Helbig will help you get ready for retirement. If you want to reserve your spot, 314-993-9494, 314-993-9494. You can find him online and reserve your spot as well at retirementkey.com.
Are you ready to smell better naked? I'm Dr. Shannon Klingman, the OBGYN creator of Lumi, the whole body deodorant that's clinically proven to control odor for 72 hours on pits, feet, privates, and beyond. It's pH optimized to safely and effectively control odor anywhere you have it, but wish you didn't. Plus, it's proven to work better than a shower with soap alone. Whether you shower twice a day or 3 times a week, Lumi works better. And who doesn't want zero body odor? With over 200,000 5-star reviews, I'm so sure you're going to love it, or you can return it for free.
There's a special offer for listeners. Use code 800 and get an extra $5 off a Lumi starter pack that comes with a solid stick, cream tube, free product of your choice, and ships free with code 800. LUME deodorant.com, code 800 for an extra $5 off a Lumi starter pack. Love it or return it for free. That's LUME deodorant.com, code 800.
On the battlefield, there's a saying America's military men and women live by. Never leave a fallen warrior behind, ever. Off the battlefield, Wounded Warrior Project operates with the same goal. Wounded Warrior Project was created to help our men and women returning home with the scars of war, whether those scars are physical or mental. Wounded Warrior Project. We never leave a fallen warrior behind, ever. Learn more about what we do at woundedwarriorproject.org.
Jackson Hewitt has a plan to get your tax refund fast. With a buck here, buck there. Here a buck, there a buck, everywhere a buck.
You don't have to wait weeks for your tax refund. Get money sooner with a no-fee refund advance loan at Jackson Hewitt.
On this loan, there's a money today guarantee. E-I-E-I-DO.
Don't settle for chicken feed. Get fast bucks at Jackson Hewitt today. No-fee refund advance loans by Republic Bank offered to eligible clients. Money today guarantee if approved for a loan on a prepaid card. Details at jacksonhewitt.com.
You're listening to the Annie Fry Show live from the Air Comfort Service Heating, Cooling, and Insulation Studio. Getting in your comfort zone with a new HVAC system is more affordable than you think, thanks to 0% financing for up to 72 months. For details and a free estimate, visit aircomfortservice.com.
The Reardon Fish Fry Fridays conclude this week in Oakville. Join me and the crew at Queen of All Saints Church. We're broadcasting live from 3 to 6 p.m. Details at 971talk.com/events. It's Fish Fry Fridays on The Mark Reardon Show. Hope to see you in Oakville.
Oh, what you know, Joe?
I don't know nothing.
What you know, Joe?
Tell me something.
What you know, Joe?
Ain't colliding.
Obviously, he's talking about a bloodbath for America. It's laid out in the terms of it. And these idiots on Twitter, these idiots on cable news, these idiots on Sunday shows going, well, presidents, you know, he was talking only about the auto industry, and this is one more. It's just, let me say that at 6:15 a.m. It's just, he knew what he was doing. We're not stupid. Americans aren't stupid. He was talking about a bloodbath. Sometimes a bloodbath means a bloodbath. And when he finishes by saying, and that's just going to be the least of it, seriously, these people may be stupid. We're not.
Just keep telling yourself that, Joe. And I'm not talking about my friend Joe Concha. That was Joe Scarborough. And boy, he just sounds like a pleasant person to be around. Let's talk to our friend Joe Concha about it. Fox News contributor and author of the book, Come On, Man, The Truth About Joe Biden's Terrible, Horrible, No Good, Very Bad Presidency. And you got another book coming out too, Joe. Isn't that right?
I do. It's called Progressively Worse.
Oh.
Why today's Democrats are not your daddy's donkeys.
Mm-hmm. When
Yes.
you hear Joe Scarborough, I mean, it's kind of enraging, but at the end, I'm like, I'm not a hugger, but I'm like, do you need a hug? He seems uptight.
Can I tell you, I went on Joe's show, and this is when I was just getting into going on cable news, and I would go on MSNBC, and I went on a show called Scarborough Country. It was on at 10 o'clock weekdays. You know, it was in Secaucus, New Jersey. That's where they used to have their studios. I lived in Hoboken, so in Jersey parlance, it's like a 10-minute drive. You know, they send a car. So I'm like, yeah, I'll go with the Scarborough guy. He's former Florida congressman. And whenever I get off, I'm like, wow, pragmatic guy, down to earth, you know, easy to get along with. I never thought twice that I never thought anyway that Joe Scarborough would morph into Keith Olbermann. You can't tell the difference now at this point. Let's tackle that soundbite that you just played. He's talking about everybody's idiots. This was a bloodbath. You can't call it anything else. Then why did Joe Scarborough the night before make the same argument on Twitter, calling what Trump said a bloodbath, and then he deleted the tweet only after Elon Musk called him out, and then the blowback was so overwhelming, it was a tsunami of criticism to Scarborough, rightly so, because, again, if you just play the whole clip in context, obviously Trump is talking about the auto industry, and he's talking about cars coming from China through Mexico and the need for tariffs, and I won't get into the whole details of that, but he was making a policy point, And he used the word bloodbath just like every major news organization uses in political parlance since the beginning of time. And as for Joe Scarborough, he tweeted himself on several occasions about bloodbaths in terms of certain elections and certain races, and it never had to apologize for it. So this is having a boomerang effect, and I think it's very telling, Annie, that the fact that all these news organizations and people like Scarborough and folks on CNN are pushing this narrative, but then there's this counterweight that seems to be as strong or even stronger, and that's on social media and X, and then guys like Joe Rogan were talking about it on his podcast yesterday, saying this is complete BS. Everybody knows that this is a lie. It's willingly dishonest. And in the end, this will only help Trump. They just don't know it yet.
I completely agree with that. There is a level. You said Keith Olbermann. He is, I think, the most unhinged. I've never heard him say anything that is, I don't know, what would you say, hinged? He never comes out and is like really measured. He's always so ragey that you got to kind of look away. You have secondhand embarrassment just from reading tweets that he writes. Why is it that they've gone from, I disagree with what he's saying, and suggesting that Donald Trump is not right for fixing America, to this level of psychopathic rage that it's almost like a misery loves company thing, I guess, for the few people who watch these shows anymore. But why are they so angry?
Oh, you mean Keith Olbermann when he publicly hoped that Donald Trump would be assassinated?
Yeah.
That tweet we're talking about?
Yeah.
Yeah, look, in the same year that I appeared on Scarborough's show on a regular basis, I also appeared on Keith Olbermann's show. Can you believe it? Joe Concha and Keith Olbermann, right?
And look at you now.
Look at me now, right? I'm still on TV and Keith is not. But here's the thing. I used to adore it. I used to revere Keith Olbermann. Now I'm talking about ESPN Keith Olbermann, and when he used to do Sports Center with Dan Patrick back in the 90s, it was called The Big Show. I mean, it was Sports Center, but this was like must-view television. And you watch Keith Olbermann, and you thought that he was a man who was a command of the facts completely, as it pertains to baseball especially, and just was very entertaining in terms of the way he did highlights. So then when Keith invited me on his MSNBC show, again, I never thought twice, like, oh boy, that guy's nuts. You're like, oh cool, Keith Olbermann, the guy who was in sports who's now on MSNBC. Remember, MSNBC was a very different MSNBC back in 2003, 2004, because you had Tucker Carlson who had a show on that network. For example, let's see, Savage had a show on that network. Jesse Ventura had a show on MSNBC. I mean, trust me, they tried to be balanced between conservative and liberal, and then eventually Olbermann started to go nuts. They hired Rachel Maddow, and then they never looked back. Look, the hatred and everything, it's just now, at this point, you can't get angry about it. You just have to mock it. And if you mock it, you feel a little better about yourself, and you make them look as crazy as possible, because you don't even have to make them look crazy. It is crazy. Yeah. And this election, if Trump is listening, and I know he listens to your show, Annie, or at least gets the clips afterwards if he's busy, all you have to say is, look, this is a matter of common sense versus crazy. And if you like common sense, then you vote for me. If you like, lower taxes, you vote for me. It's not spending what we don't have in terms of inflation, you vote for me. You want lower crime, more police, and AGs that actually enforce laws in the books, you vote for me. You want the border secure, you vote for me. You want foreign policy that we don't fight in all these wars and all these billions going out the door, we don't know where it's going, no accountability, no end in sight, vote for me. If he just sticks to that, I think he wins anyway, regardless of how he acts at this point, because Biden is that bad, the country's that bad, and Trump's on the right side of all the issues. But if he just sticks to that message over and over, he wins in a landslide we haven't seen since Ronald Reagan, 84.
Oh, from your lips to God's ears, Joe Concha. Right now with us, Fox News contributor on Twitter at Joe Concha TV. You mentioned Elon Musk. He also threw out names like Joe Rogan, Tucker Carlson. I can think of so many alternate media. And, I guess talk radio is pretty established in the opportunity for people to consume information through a particular medium. Of course, cable TV is as well. But I actually think that all of these alternative podcasting and people doing their own thing is actually kind of strengthening anybody who is speaking around the truth. So I don't know that if you're in cable news that cable news is ever going to be as big as it was when it was the only game in town. But if you're in cable news and you're talking truth, and other people in other places are also talking truth, the way people are writing now independently, what do you think the influence of an Elon Musk and a Joe Rogan and the like is on specifically this year and this election when it comes to what is real?
Well, it's like that Scarborough tweet, right? In other words, Joe Scarborough will do Morning Joe, and some publications will write like 3 or 4 stories, Mediaite, about whatever Scarborough says every day, right? As far as wow, he slams Trump, as if that's a story, right? Oh, wow, Joe Scarborough went after Trump. Look at that. I don't get the thought process around that. But maybe I think 800,000 people watch Morning Joe. and something like 1.6 million watch Fox and Friends, so twice as much. But then when you get into like the Elon Musk world, and I don't know how these numbers exactly are calculated, but Musk replying to Scarborough, calling him out on his BS as far as the bloodbath thing, it's got something like 64 million views, right? Now, those views, I don't know, is it just, I scroll by it, do I count as a view? Even if I take away 1/10 of that, it's still 6 times as much that of the people that are watching Scarborough, right? And people like Rogan and Musk to a certain extent are more respected and more trusted because they don't really have an agenda in terms of where are they going to get their next contract. In other words, remember 2015, 2016, Joe Scarborough and Mika Brzezinski kissed Trump's ass more than, and I'm sorry if I just stepped on something there. Bleep, dump me out. But yeah, they kissed his butt more than anybody. I mean, Trump was on there every week, and they were the friendliest interviews. And then only after Trump got the nomination, they said, uh-oh, this guy could win. Did they turn on him because they realized their audience was turning on them? And ever since then, they've tripled down in terms of being the leading parts of the resistance against Trump. So people that you hear things on TV, like cable news, a lot of people are saying it because they want that next contract. The people that survive are the ones that are completely honest, and they will throw you a curveball once in a while. I know when I came on with you, for example, during the primaries, I criticized Trump plenty, and I thought that DeSantis was the better candidate. And when I would get off, it would be really fun on social media hearing from Trump supporters saying that I'm some sort of rhino traitor, blah, blah, blah. But I'm like, you know what? I don't care because I'm going to give my opinion, and I'm not going to apologize for it. So those people are the ones that will survive, and people like MSNBC where can you tell one person from the other on that network? Because I can't – outside of Steve Kornacki, which I think just is like a numbers dork, right? And I know Steve, and he does a good job. Outside of him, everybody else sounds the same. So that's why their ratings are in the dumps. And then that's why CNN, who tries to be MSNBC, that's why they're like half of MSNBC. So just be authentic, give an opinion. Don't be scared of your audience, and you'll be fine. That's why Bill Maher does well, by the way, because he doesn't care about what his audience thinks either.
Yeah, and they respect him that his opinions seem to be his opinions one way or the other, whether they agree with him. Do you have anything you want to add? I kind of want to hear what you have to think about Don Lemon.
Yeah. Oh, he did. Well, Elon Musk described it best. He said Don Lemon wanted to take CNN and put it on social media, and that's just not going to work. How do you go into partnership with somebody like Elon Musk, and then you interview him, and you just try to gotcha him the entire time, basically say that he promotes hate speech, basically say that he's a donor to Trump, or at least ask, are you donating to Trump? Ask him about his past drug use. I mean, it was the most obnoxious interview from a most obnoxious person that ever existed in cable news. And the things he asked for in his contract, did you hear about this?
Yeah.
He wanted $5 million up front. He wanted a say in the content on Twitter. Are you kidding me? He wanted a Tesla Cybertruck or something like that. This was the lowest rated guy in cable news in prime time, and he's making all these demands. So Elon's like, get out of here. I don't need you. I don't need this. And it was good to see.
It was like a test case in narcissism run amok. It's pretty unbelievable.
Perfectly said.
All right, last question before we let you go. I don't know how long you want to spend answering this. Our YouTube poll for today is, are you paying attention to Kate Middleton?
I am, only because I had to talk about it this morning on Fox and Friends first. Look, clearly there's something going on, all these Photoshops, and then for somebody to put out a statement apparently from Kate Middleton saying, oh, I was just experimenting with Photoshop. Yeah, that's what's going on. She's like your average housewife wis, this is a good picture of my kids at the soccer game. Oh, but I don't like that filter. Let me make people look a little bit better. No, of course not. No photos are going out of Buckingham Palace without, a whole comms team looking at it. So the fact that we have not one but two doctored photos of her, she apparently was shopping a day or two ago, but it doesn't really look like her.
I don't think it looks like her.
No, it's like a younger version of. I can't put my finger on it. It's definitely not her. So what's going on? Is she really having a health issue to the point where she can't speak? Right? Not even like a statement put out on audio, and you can't put her in front of a camera. So this is bizarre stuff. It's not the biggest story of the year, I will say, but it's definitely the oddest. That's for sure, Andy.
I would agree completely. Joe Concha, thanks for being with you. Is your book available for pre-order yet, or is it?
Not yet. No, I'm not even supposed to talk about it according to the book people. So
never mind.
It comes out in June, and we'll talk about it a lot in June. But until then, mum's the word.
All right, we'll have you back in June, but probably before then. And get
Before
the other
that,
one.
yes.
Get the Come On Man. That one they can get
Come
right
on,
now.
man.
Thank you,
Thank
Joe.
you.
Good to talk to
Bye-bye.
you. Bye-bye. He is a Fox News contributor and an author. I'd highly recommend reading his books. Very, very entertaining, we'll put it that way. The YouTube live chat poll, which I just asked him about, are you paying attention to Kate Middleton? Now, if I ask you that question and you're like, why would I be paying attention to Kate Middleton? Then your answer here would be none. But we have three options. None, I'm curious, or I'm obsessed. And I don't know where the Annie Fry Show audience is on a story like Kate Middleton. But I'll tell you this, Of those three, I am not checking for me. None. I'm one of the other ones. We'll talk about that in a little bit. Get Thomas Helbig and Bob Kershaw in the Annie Fry Show studio here in just a minute to have a conversation about the seminar that is coming up. We'll be right back.
Hey, stop your squawking, just ain't talking, 'cause I don't know.
This is the Annie Fry Show. Follow Annie on Twitter at Annie Fry Show.
What you know, Joe? What do you know, Joe?
Just ain't making it, I don't know.
AirComfortService.com. Are you looking for someone to give your air conditioner a look for this spring season as it sets in St. Louis? One of these days, you know it's going to happen. It's going to be hot outside, and your air conditioner is going to need to kick in, and you sure hope that it blows the cool air that you need to get your comfort zone into your home. Air Comfort Service is waiting for your phone call, 314-513-0091. 314-513-0091. There's more to what Air Comfort Service can offer you, though, right now, because it's not just about keeping your house cool. It's also about keeping the air in your home clean. And I know for my family, allergies, once they start setting in, it's kind of nasty around the house. You want to make sure that the air quality in your home is good. They have a spring indoor air quality feature that they can install into your home that will keep you from the allergy symptoms you deal with, pet dander, bacteria, viruses, odors, and more that infiltrate your home and make it uncomfortable. Air Comfort Service can help you with this, and you can call them for a free estimate on a whole home air purifier that will help relieve or eliminate those situations. 314-513-0091. 314-513-0091. You can find them online at aircomfortservice.com.
Tune in to the Home Improvement Show sponsored by Mosby Building Arts, Saturdays 12 to 1 p.m. on 97.1 for expert advice on remodeling, design, and construction. This live Q&A show begins at noon, or find podcasts at mosbybuildingarts.com.
Surprise!
Surprise!
You know, surprise parties, they can be fun, right? Well, financial surprises, not so much, especially when you're retired, like finding out you owe more in taxes than you thought you would, or having to go back to work to make ends meet. Maybe you think you'll be okay, but why not double check just to be sure? Call Marvin Mitchell at Compass Retirement Solutions and schedule a retirement double check. Marvin and his team have been helping families plan for retirement for more than 15 years. Call 314-373-1598 to schedule your retirement double check with Marvin Mitchell at Compass Retirement Solutions. That's 314-373-1598. Don't let a financial surprise derail your retirement dreams. Give Marvin and the team a call, 314-373-1598. Firm offers insurance services, investments, and services offered through Compass Retirement Group, a registered investment advisory in Missouri and in Illinois.
Jewels on Hampton in St. Louis Hills is paying some of the highest prices on gold, silver, diamonds, semi-precious colored stones, and fine watches on site. Jewels on Hampton is a premier jeweler with an exquisite selection of diamonds, semi-precious stone jewelry, and vintage watches. Their expert design team can restyle your jewelry to today's contemporary style. They also do jewelry and watch repair. Need extra cash? Jewels on Hampton is paying some of the highest prices on gold, silver, diamonds, semi-precious colored stones, and fine watches. Bring your collectibles and clocks, sports memorabilia, and figurines too. Jewels on Hampton, 4506 Hampton, just 3 blocks south of Chippewa. Call them at 314-752-5000. That's 314-752-5000. So if you need some extra cash, looking for that one-of-a-kind piece, make Jewels on Hampton your first stop. Jewels on Hampton in St. Louis Hills.
Spring is in the air, and that means it's time for some spring cleaning, and I want you to do that with the help of my friends from Zero Res. And you could save big in March when you beat the spring cleaning rush with these limited time offers from my cleaning heroes at Zero Res. You're not the only one who's sick and tired of winter. Your carpets are too. So think about the dust, the dander, living and breeding in your carpet, your upholstery, your air ducts, and more with nowhere to go. So let's get that gunk out of your home, and you're going to call Zero Res. You're going to ask for an awesome deal right now and mention my name or 97.1 FM Talk. Here Here's the deal for the month of March. 3 rooms, 0 reservified from St. Louis's #1 carpet cleaner, starting at $119. Also, take $50 off your air duct cleaning and 20% off all upholstery. You get your carpets professionally cleaned, you get great customer service with the 30-day gotta love it guarantee, and you get a cleaner home. Call Zero-Res 314-474-2020, online ZeroResSTL.com, and make sure you mention the station special. You spell it backwards or forwards, it spells the same. Call Zero-Res today.
Well, today's YouTube live chat poll, are you paying attention to Kate Middleton? If you don't know who Kate Middleton is, your answer is none. But if you do, your other options are I'm curious or I'm obsessed. So if you, we want to know, are you paying attention to Kate Middleton? Jump on Annie's YouTube page, and if you type in Annie Fry on the YouTube page, right there, you'll find our stream. Jump on there in the comments, little blue line. Click on that. That'll be the poll, and vote. And then, since you're in there and you're going to have the opportunity to, go ahead and leave a comment and tell us why you voted the way you voted. The time is 12:45. This time check is sponsored by Jerry Kelly Heating and Air Conditioning.
It's time for a $98 furnace tune-up.
Are you a business owner? Do you want your voice and the voices of your clients represented? Let us do the talking. Join our community of free thinkers on St. Louis's home for conservative talk. Learn more at 971talk.com/partner. You're listening to the Annie Fry Show on St. Louis's home for conservative talk. Find the podcast, on-demand audio, and more at 971talk.com/Annie.
Well, these are the worst First Amendment violations in this nation's history, and they can be leveled right at President Biden across the White House and across the spectrum of federal bureaucratic agencies. And we're not going to let the White House or any other federal entity destroy free speech in America. That's what this lawsuit's all about. We've uncovered a vast censorship enterprise, a relationship of coercion and collusion between federal officials and big tech social media to silence American voices. It was illegal. They only silenced conservative voices. And everything they suppressed that we've uncovered in our lawsuit thus far also happened to be true.
So that was Andrew Bailey. He's the Attorney General, of course, from Missouri, talking about that lawsuit that was argued in front of the Supreme Court yesterday. And the reason why I tell you this is at 1:25 today, Senator Eric Schmitt is going to join us on the show. The case stems from a lawsuit that was brought by state attorneys general from Missouri and Louisiana. And I think that the original case was brought by Eric Schmitt. Correct?
Yes.
He's the one who brought this.
Yes,
and then,
initially.
of course, he went to the Senate. Andrew Bailey is the Attorney General for the state of Missouri now, accusing high-ranking government officials of working with giant social media companies, quote, under the guise of combating misinformation that ultimately led to censoring speech on topics that ended up spilling over, I should say, into the Hunter Biden laptop story, COVID-19 origins, and the efficacy of face masks. So I'm very interested to talk to Eric Schmitt, the senator from Missouri, in about 45 minutes from now, and we will discuss what he has thought so far on this really huge case that was argued in front of the Supreme Court yesterday. But now I'm going to shift gears, and we're going to talk to my friend Thomas Helbig, who is in studio right now. Thomas, welcome back. Good to have you.
Good for having me. Thank you.
Been traveling at all?
No, just busy at the office.
So right now, I'm going to ask you a little bit about the economy before we get into discussing the seminar that we have next Tuesday. I'm going to be at it. It's at 6:30 p.m. at the Frontenac Hilton. You need to reserve your spot. You can call 314-993-9494. I want to ask you a little bit about the average retiree right now, because I keep hearing, especially from people who support Biden, they're like, the stock market's doing great. It's doing awesome.
The stock market's doing very well. And what's funny is so many people have no idea how they're getting these numbers. If you listen to Charles Payne on Fox, he doesn't understand what's driving the market right now. Because if you do any research and reading, some of the top billionaires that have so many millions of shares, they're all liquidating stocks. They're getting out of the market for some reason. Now, they know something before we do. But the market keeps going up. Now, one thing, and I don't want to get into politics, but we all know Biden is lying with the numbers about unemployment and things like that. That is a fact.
How so?
Oh my goodness.
What's he saying, and how do you? What is he saying with the numbers, and how do you see the numbers?
Okay, well, and I've heard this on the news. They're people that are part-time workers. They're counting them as full-time workers. People that are that have been laid off, things like that. It's just the numbers are skewed. They really are, and it's because we have an election year, and they're going to do everything they can to make the markets look good. But the unemployment number is going up, and with all these millions of undocumented workers coming in, illegal, whatever you want to call them, is going to hurt the economy because that's going to be taking jobs away from the middle class, things like that. It really is.
So, go ahead.
Go ahead. I was just going to say, but the markets are doing well. And the point is this. If you're close to retirement, if you're 59 and a half years old, make this event because two things we're going to talk about. Number one, we're going to talk about how to participate in the growth of the market, but never lose a penny because right now in your 401ks, 403bs, your IRAs, you have ownership position, which means you own the good when the market's up. Unfortunately, you own the bad when the market tanks. We teach our clients how to only participate in the good, not the bad. We're also going to teach our clients how to avoid the fees. In a normal 401k, you're paying between 3 to 5% a year in fees. In an IRA and a brokerage account, 2 to 3%.
Okay.
So on a $500,000 portfolio, that's an average account people have built up. If you're paying 2% a year in fees over a 20-year period in retirement, you'll spend over $600,000 in fees.
That's a lot.
That's a lot. Now imagine if you could save that 2% a year. That's an extra $600,000 in your retirement account. You'll be able to draw more money. Your income your retirement savings will last longer, and you'll be able to leave more to your family. So that's important.
Let me ask you a little bit. I know that your focus is with people who are like right there getting ready to retire.
Are already retired.
That's
Correct.
right. That is your focus. But I bet you have some thoughts. I want to just kind of go generationally because that's not me. I just told you on the break I'm going to be 40 in April. I say that a lot on the air because
you
I'm
have time on your hands.
Thinking about it every day. What's your advice to somebody in their 20s and 30s? If you were to give them one piece of advice to make sure that when they come
Put money
to you,
away. Put money away for their future.
Just
because you
anything.
have time and compounding interest. And you can weather the storms. You can weather the down market turns. You can because time is on your side. But with the closer you get to retirement, within that 5-year period, if we go through a market crash because we're way overdue, the top pundits are saying something's going to happen.
Is the 5-year period, is it arbitrary, not arbitrary, but is it subjective to the person? So if I want to retire at 60, are we talking at 55?
Absolutely. Start planning after 55 and above.
Okay.
Absolutely. And again, when you're 59 and a half, if you have a 401k at work, you're allowed to move that, roll it over tax-free into your own IRA, and then the whole world of investments open up to you, especially what we teach you to do, linking to the market so you get the growth, but you don't get the losses and you avoid the fees.
The people who come see you, Thomas Helbig, at the Retirement Advisory Group, maybe the people who come to events like the one this coming Tuesday at March 26th, free folks, at the Frontenac Hilton, come see us. RetirementKey.com if you want to reserve your spot. I'll give you the number here before we wrap up. Are these people, like, do they have every single duck in a row when they come to you? Or have they been, like right now, I have my 401k is on autopilot. The money comes out before I ever see it.
You have a bunch of mutual funds, stocks, things like that.
So do you talk to people who have never really paid a close focus attention on where they know they got a big nut to bring to you?
All the time. And they don't know what to do. So what we do, and one of the things we do with everybody, and it's free, we put together for them individually, it's called a personalized structured income plan. What that does is we take whatever their assets they have after their first meeting, we put this together, and it's going to show you two things, that individual. It's going to show how much income they'll be able to draw in retirement, number one. Number two, it will show you how long your money will last, because the two things retirees worry about, do I have enough to retire right now? How long will my money last? And when we put this on paper and they see it, it is the greatest feeling to see a couple look over and say, honey, we can afford to retire, or we need 2 more years to work, and this will get us this amount of income. And we'll do that free for everybody.
To me, I've really been able to put a pin in this and always go back to this about anything. But anytime I'm afraid, it's because I don't know.
Exactly.
If the thing that I fear, if I can name it, if I can see it, if I know what it is, then I can formulate a plan on what I'm going to do about it. But the thing that is
Fear of the unknown.
Worst. It's the scariest thing that you can face is a lack of information that'll haunt you. And what it seems like what you're saying that you do for people who are real close to their retirement is you say, this is what you have right now, this is what you need to do, and then this is what you're going to get.
Here's what it's going to do. Here's what it's going to do in retirement. People need to know these strategies that have been around for 30 years that allow you to get the growth without the losses and allow you to save the fees. So that's what we teach everybody. And again, once they set an appointment with us, they come in, they get a free copy of our book, Your Key to a Worry-Free Retirement. I put it all out in writing, what we do, and we'll show you how to do it. And what we offer is peace of mind. Our clients walk away and saying, I wish I would have met you 5 to 10 years ago. We have peace of mind.
I only got a minute left here, but you work with a lot of 97.1 and Andy
Oh my
Fry
God,
Show
that's
people.
I would say 95% of our business, 97.1. I mean, I've been on the air with you since what, 2011 or 12 for good 12.
Not with me, but
Well,
you've been on
here
with
at
me.
the radio
yeah,
station,
You've been around
but
since I've been around.
It's
and-
our clientele. It really is. I mean, we're a big family. It's great when they come in. They're going to get to meet you and Mark Cox and Mark Reardon at this event.
Well, this is where I get to say to my audience, we want the most Andy Fry Show listeners there. So if you call right now, 314-993-9494, we just fill that room with Andy Fry Show listeners, and then I get to meet all of you with Mark and Mark there.
And go to retirementkey.com.
That's
Once
right.
again, that's retirementkey.com. I hope to see you all there
Yeah.
next Tuesday.
And Mark are doing the same thing, so you can put down that you're there for all three of us. That's fine. But make sure you put down that you're coming. Reserve your spot. Bring a friend. They have cookies and treats.
Yes, we do.
Yeah,
We have
it's free.
cookies and treats and coffee and sodas and all that.
I found out that cookies and treats and snacks are very good for grandchildren and grandparents.
And they're really good. They're home-baked cookies.
Yeah,
They're good.
They're great. 314-993-9494. Thomas Elbeck, thank you.
Thanks for having me.
RetirementKey.com. We'll be right back with Deroy Murdock and Senator Eric Schmitt.
This is the Annie Fry Show. Follow Annie on Twitter at Annie Fry Show.
We've been here 30 years, 30 Christmases in this house, and we have the traditions that most families have.
That's Terry talking about her experience with Rhino Shield ceramic coating.
We did Rhino Shield 14 years ago, and the house still looks the same as the first day. Rhino Shield really worked with me to help me get just the right nice soft yellow, and it's 14 years later, and it's the same color.
The main reason Terry called Rhino Shield is because it's backed by its 25-year transferable warranty.
It just sounded wonderful that we could have the house coated with Rhino Shield and not have to worry about it again for 25 years.
Take it from Terry. Give Rhino Shield a call now for a free evaluation. 877-25-RHINO. 877-25-RHINO. Or visit 877-25rhino.com.
There have been neighbors that have come by and said, did you just have your house painted? Because they wanted to know who the contractor was. And I said, no, it's actually Rhino Shield.
877-25rhino.com.
The Diamond Shop, there in Clayton. Have you visited the Diamond Shop yet? I want you to know that when you walk into the Diamond Shop, I truly feel like I'm putting you in the best hands when it comes to making a jewelry purchase, making an engagement ring and a wedding band purchase, possibly a really nice watch to commemorate something, celebrate something that you've achieved or that someone you love has achieved. When you go to the Diamond Shop, they are going to help you in the way that you need to be helped. If you know what you want, they're going to help achieve that for you. If you need guidance, they're going to provide that for you. But they will respect that experience that you're going in there to have, and they will work to make sure that they earn your repeat business, and they always do. Right now, they have 40% off all in-stock jewelry. This is through March 23rd, so hurry up and get there. And if you become a VIP, simply by going online and signing up for free at thediamondshop.net, you're going to get an additional 10% off that 40% off in-stock jewelry. I recommend it. Become a VIP at the Diamond Shop or go visit them in Clayton online at thediamondshop.net.
You've been listening to the very popular Wellness One for many years, Saturdays and Sundays on 97.1 FM Talk. We're happy to share that we've expanded the show to 4 times a week. Yes, 4 times every weekend. Saturday at 10 a.m., Saturday at 8 p.m., Sunday at 9 a.m., and Sunday at 2 p.m. It's the same great show designed to cut through the nonsense and provide you a common sense, science-based strategy for a healthy life. So join TJ and Aaron for Wellness One. Now 4 times a week on 97.1 FM Talk.
If you're thinking about buying a home or maybe selling yours, call my personal realtor, Becky O'Neill. Kim St. Ange here. Becky has over 20 years of experience, and she's helped my family buy and sell multiple homes over the years. She gave us this advice that got our offer accepted on our current home during a bidding war, even though it was $10,000 less than other offers. So if you're looking to sell, she can suggest simple changes that will bring a big return. Call Becky O'Neill today, 636-326-2290, or go to BeckyO'Neill.com.
KFTK FM Florissant. From the Under Law Injury Lawyers, GetJim.com studio. 97.1 FM Talk. Always live on the free Odyssey app.
The Texas governor accuses the president of lying. Elisa Brady, Fox News, speaking moments ago about border security.
Congress has already passed laws that give the president every tool that he needs.
Texas Governor Greg Abbott defending state efforts to crack down on illegal entries.
Texas has a right to defend ourselves, and we will use that authority to declare an invasion and fight back against that invasion.
This as court fights continue over some of his immigration policies. President Biden says Republicans are blocking border reforms. He's heading to Texas later today for campaign events after an economic speech this afternoon in Arizona. For a second day, former sheriff's deputies are being sentenced in Mississippi for the racist torture of 2 black men by a group of white officers who called themselves the Goon Squad. 28-year-old Daniel Opdyke just sentenced to more than 17 years in federal prison, crying as he looked at the 2 victims, telling them he became a monster that night and that the harm he's caused will haunt him every day. He's the third of 6 to be sentenced. In Idaho, prison inmate on the run after a shootout in a hospital.
Inmate Skylar Mead had been taken from prison to a hospital in Boise for medical treatment. As corrections officers were preparing to transport him back to the prison just after 2 in the morning, someone opened fire on them in the hospital's ambulance bay. 2 corrections officers were shot and wounded. Arriving Boise police mistook a 3rd corrections officer for a suspect and shot and wounded him slightly.
Fox's Jack Callahan, Mead, and the suspect fled in a car. Police warning they are considered armed and dangerous. The Fed leaves interest rates alone, still keeping close watch on inflation after hotter than expected readings in recent reports. They're just wrapping up a 2-day meeting and trying to gauge when to start cutting interest rates. America is listening to Fox News.
Angie's List is now Angie, and we've heard a lot of theories about why.
I thought it was an eco move. Fewer words, less paper.
No, it was so you could say it faster.
No, it's to be more iconic.
Must be a tech thing. But those aren't quite right. It's because now you can compare upfront prices, book a service instantly, and even get your project handled from start to finish.
Sounds easy.
It is, and it makes us so much more than just a list. Get started at Angie.com. That's ANGI, or download the app today.
Tax Talk with Straight Talk.
You give and you give. This tax season, you get with Straight Talk Wireless. You get a reliable 5G network and unlimited data and a new Samsung Galaxy A15 for just $99. So you can give your janky phone to your kid. Yeah! Good talk.
Switch to Straight Talk for plans starting as low as $25 a line per month for 4 lines. Find us at Walmart and StraightTalk.com. For network management practices, visit StraightTalk.com. Device offer ends 4/14/24. In-store activation on single Silver Unlimited plan or higher required. Family plan discount with 4 lines, all on the Silver Unlimited plan. Taxes and fees.
Air Comfort Service, heating, cooling, and insulation. Weather.
Chief Meteorologist Dave Murray.
Plenty of sunshine. The good news, the winds are lighter, but temperatures are a good 10 degrees cooler. 55 for the high later on today. Tonight, clear and cold, a quick drop out of the 50s into the 40s for evening plans. 32 for the low. Thursday, partly sunny, cold start, chilly day Thursday. 48 for the high. Friday, partly sunny, couple of limited rain showers possible, and 62. This is 97.1 FM Talk. Chief Meteorologist Dave Murray.
The Reardon Fish Fry Fridays conclude this week in Oakville. Join me and the crew at Queen of All Saints Church. We're broadcasting live from 3 to 6 p.m. Details at 971talk.com/events. It's Fish Fry Fridays on The Mark Reardon Show. Hope to see you in Oakville.
You wouldn't trust a butcher to babysit your pet pig. You wouldn't trust a lumberjack to repair your antiques. Or a professional wrestler to be your massage therapist. So why would you trust anyone but AMCO to fix your car? For over 50 years, we've been the trusted experts in transmission repair.
AMCO offers easy payment plan options for most any credit situation, so you can fix it fast and pay it off slow at AMCO.
AAMCO.
Hey guys, Glover here from my friends at ThrottleNet. So I'm so very proud to have represented the guys at ThrottleNet for all of these years. They are the IT geniuses. George and Mike are the owners. Fantastic guys. They can do all of your IT. They can do a portion of your IT. They have the best Apple support team. Their response time is under 2 minutes. Think about that, under 2 minutes. Something goes sideways with your IT, and they are solving your problem. And they're solving your problem within 2 minutes. Now, let's talk about cybersecurity. Most companies in St. Louis don't have cyber liability insurance. You get hit, you're on the hook, you're probably out of business. With ThrottleNet, if we represent you, we protect you. The first $500,000 that someone hits you for, which isn't going to happen, but if it does, we pay it. $500,000, that's what you're covered for with ThrottleNet. Go to throttlenet.com/DGS for all the information.
Hey, it's Bo Matthews for Beast Plumbing, your new plumber. Whether it's plumbing, water heaters, clogged drains, or water treatment like water filtration and water softeners, call on the best. That's Beast Plumbing, 314-500-LEAK. That's 314-500-LEAK.
Are you the decision maker in your company? Consider this. For the first time in decades, there's a better option for a corporate card and spend management platform. Meet Ramp, the only corporate card and spend management system designed to help you spend less money so you can make more. Most corporate credit cards offer points as incentives, but those points amount to less than their worth in real cash value. Ramp's corporate cards offer you cash back, real money in your pocket. Plus, you control who spends what with each vendor. And Ramp's software collects and verifies receipts automatically, which means you'll stop wasteful spending and close your books in hours instead of days. Businesses that use Ramp add up to 5% to their bottom line the first year. If you're a decision maker, adding Ramp could be one of the best decisions you've ever made. And now get $250 when you join Ramp. Just go to ramp.com/free. Ramp.com/free. RAMP.com/free.
Cards issued by Sutton Bank and Celtic Bank, members of FDIC. Terms and conditions apply.
The Annie Fry Show YouTube live chat poll of the day is sponsored by Ruler Foods. Low prices, no coupons. Ruler Foods.
That is exactly what I needed to hear.
Thank God someone here knows what they're talking about.
That's us. That's right. Gotta love this American ride.
All right, you need to take the time and get the full picture.
Don't get me wrong, I love the ladies. I mean, they rev my engine, but they don't belong in the newsroom. It is Anchor Man, not Anchor Lady.
Goodness sake, kid. Keep your voice down. Your father's listening to the radio. I'm not America's sweetheart.
This is the Annie Fry Show.
Mr. Woodward files that appeal. It comes into 3 judges. 2 of them are Republican, 1 is a Democrat. We've got your appeal. Time passes, a short period of time. We get the ruling back. Appeal denied. 3 Obama judges on the 3 panels. 3. How did that bait and switch happen? That's supposed to be a random draw. You know what the odds of that are? Less than 20%. Democrat, Democrat, Democrat. From start to finish. This is the partisan weaponization of our judicial system.
Peter Navarro speaking there, who was speaking out in front before he went to jail for his crimes, misdemeanors. A lot of people have a lot of different thoughts on Peter Navarro. He's a perfect example of somebody who generally any opinion you have on him is predicated by what? Of course, proximity to Donald Trump. But when you hear somebody like Peter Navarro or Donald Trump talking about a justice system that isn't blind, that does seem to be tilted in the favor and absolutely in opposition to the same people repeatedly, you have to ask yourself, how can they be so consistent? How can they be in so lockstep so regularly to use the justice system as a weapon against people who are of the conservative bent, especially if you have any sort of connection to Donald Trump? Let's bring our friend Deroy Murdock onto the show, nationally syndicated columnist and Fox News contributor. Deroy, welcome back. Good to have you here.
Hi, Annie. Great to talk to you again.
I want to ask you about this justice system that we have right now. If, of course, you hear Donald Trump anytime he's talking about his court cases, he talks about election interference. But that election interference would not happen if the court system wasn't being used against him. That's what he's saying is happening. What's your take on it from top to bottom? Do we have a fair justice system?
No, we don't. We have what I call a two-track justice system. If you are a Republican and you get in trouble for anything from raising questions about the 2020 election to almost anything else, you can look forward to indictments, prosecution, and jail. And if you are a Democrat, especially a friend of Joe Biden, you get off with that with little, if any, punishment, and very, very likely, especially if you're a high-profile person like James Comey or Peter Strzok of Russiagate fame, any of these other people, you literally get a book deal and a TV contract. I'm not being metaphorical about that. And you look at a lot of people who got wrapped up in opposing Trump and had problems. They walk away and they end up on CNN or MSNBC, and they get their books published, and they get a lot of money. And that's the difference. You mentioned Peter Navarro. Here's a guy who I think is about 75, 78 years old. He's pushing 80. As far as I know, no prior criminal record, not engaged in any violence, and it looks like he's off to jail. And then you look at all the people the illegal aliens who go around here, you can be in Times Square, beat up a bunch of cops, they arrest you, and you're back on the street in no time and in a bus off to California. I mean, it's just astonishing, absolutely incredible. So, if you break into the country, you violate the law, you engage in violence, and you're on the street, you're a guy like Peter Navarro, you're a public servant, you have a long academic record, you're pushing 80 years old, no prior legal violations, and you're off to federal prison. It's absolutely astonishing. Lady Justice is not blind. Lady Justice has eyes wide open, is wearing a big donkey pin on her chest, unfortunately.
There has to be a test kitchen for where these thoughts, philosophies, and commitments can kind of be assembled, put together, and committed to. And I'm reading this article that you have in The Spectator right now, and it's called Hoyagate, Georgetown Law's Vatican of Trump Hatred. Do you think that the university system, specifically some of these law schools like Georgetown, is this the test kitchen where all of this stuff really gets assembled?
I like your test kitchen metaphor. I'm picturing somebody like Julia Child or Martha Stewart coming up with recipes saying, well, that one works, this needs more sauce, or maybe keep that in a little longer till it's golden brown. That's a good way to put it. And I think you're right. A lot of these terrible ideas come out of universities, and usually when we first hear about them, we have a big laugh and go, oh, look what the crazy professors are doing now. And then you give it 2, 3, 4, 5 years, all of a sudden the wacky, crazy, exotic idea is now a legal doctrine being perpetrated by and pushed by the U.S. Department of Justice or various groups like the NAACP or the ACLU or whatever it is, and regular people end up being at the short end of the stick if these things are thrown at them. And in fact, as you mentioned, Georgetown Law School, as I point out in this article in American Spectator, is I call it the Vatican of Trump hatred. You have one professor after another coming up with these concepts, and not just espousing them on a theoretical basis, but actually taking a lot of these things into courtrooms, either as lawsuits or as legal briefs or what have you, memos of prosecutors are urged to use, and they're used to harass President Trump, harass his supporters, get involved in all sorts of election interference efforts, that kind of thing. And the people who do this very often are the same folks who are talking about, oh, we defend democracy. Democracy is wonderful. We're the Democrats defending democracy. And yet you have people like Rosa Brooks, who's part of this cabal. She's the professor of law and policy and associate dean for Center and Institutes at Georgetown University. And just 10 days after Trump became president, not after he's had any time really to sign legislation or do anything other than kind of ceremonially be president, she wrote an article for Foreign Policy magazine with the headline, 3 Ways to Get Rid of Trump. She offered one more idea. It's the following, and I quote, "The fourth possibility is one that until recently I would have said was unthinkable in the United States of America, a military coup," unquote. So here you have a Georgetown law professor so upset with Donald J. Trump that she doesn't say, look, let's organize against this guy and try to figure out some way to defeat him in 2020. This is in 2017 when this happened. She's out there advocating a military coup, as if we're living in Venezuela or Argentina back in the 70s or Chile under Pinochet. Unbelievable. And for someone to do this and at the same time pat herself on the back as a great defender of democracy is just breathtaking. And this will give people, I think, a very vivid sense of how completely unhinged and how totally far left and truly totalitarian the American Democrat Party has become.
Yeah, you have in this article in the Spectator really outlined the connections where some of these thoughts, these ideas, they happen at these university levels or at maybe even university functions potentially. You're just around the same people, but those people that have come out of, you're calling out Georgetown quite a bit here, their connection to the highest of high places within the administrations that have had enormous authority over our country and the world. There is a lot of great connection that comes out of these legal schools, of course, into the highest offices in politics.
That's very true. I mean, you look at John Podesta, for example. He's an adjunct professor at Georgetown University. He was the head of Hillary Clinton's campaign in 2016. He was also White House chief of staff under Obama. So, as you say, very highest levels of American government. And a number of these folks are involved in a war game exercise called TIP, which is Transition Integrity Project. And they did kind of war game scenarios to determine what would happen after, if Biden got elected in 2020 or if Trump got reelected, and how to respond. And in this war game, John Podesta portrayed Joe Biden. And in one of these scenarios, you had a, quote, clear Trump win, quote unquote. And the response by John Podesta portraying Joe Biden wasn't to concede defeat or say, hey, let's have a recount in this state or the other. He did a couple of things. One was in this game to encourage the people portraying the governors of Michigan and governor of Wisconsin to file alternate slates of electors and send them to the Electoral College, to Congress to be counted. This is the so-called same, quote-unquote, fake elector scheme for which Donald J. Trump may potentially be on trial or maybe even thrown in prison in Georgia. So when John Podesta does it while portraying Joe Biden, that's okay. But when Donald J. Trump does exactly the same thing, he winds up indicted and potentially going on trial in Fulton County, Georgia. And another thing even more incredible, as Joe Biden, John Podesta portraying him, one of his other responses was to get the states of California, Oregon, and Washington to declare themselves Cascadia and then split away and secede from the Union and take the entire West Coast, the entire Pacific time zone, and pry it away and make it its own country and turn America into a nation of 47 states rather than 50. And again, the same guy, I'm sure John Podesta has given a speech in the last week about how Trump is a threat to democracy and he's divisive and all this. And yet here you have him portraying Joe Biden and saying, yeah, let's take the three states on the West Coast and just split them off from the United States if Trump wins. Truly astonishing and massively hypocritical. And again, I think this illustrates how extreme, unhinged, and I think truly, I think the word applies correctly, deranged Trump's enemies, opponents are, and especially those who've gathered at Georgetown University with taxpayer funds, with subsidies from the federal government, with tax-exempt status. And I think all of that demands investigation by the U.S. Congress as soon as possible.
Nationally syndicated columnist, Fox News contributor, Deroy Murdock with us right now. Whenever I hear that threat to democracy, the Democrats are always saying that if you don't vote for Democrats, then that it's a threat to democracy. And it's always ironic to me that the only way to preserve democracy in the eyes of Democrats is to only ever vote for one party, which just seems a little strange on the surface. What is Donald Trump? What could he do? What are they realistically afraid that Donald Trump, should he win in November, get sworn in January, that he's going to do?
That's a really good question. They behave as if, we're living in the Weimar Republic and, Adolf Trump is going to take over and turn this into, Nazi Germany 2.0 or something like this, Nazi America. Look, if we'd never heard of this guy and he were making his first run for the presidency and had no record, you might say, all right, well, who knows what he might do? It might really be that bad. He, in fact, was president of the United States for 4 years. And over a 4-year period, I don't ever remember seeing Donald J. Trump try to take Joe Biden off the ballot. That never took place. And yet Biden and Democrats, up until the Supreme Court decision recently, I shouldn't blame Biden, other Democrats were trying to take Trump off the ballot in Colorado and Maine and I think Illinois, for starters. Yeah. I don't remember ever during 4 years seeing Donald J. Trump shut down websites with which he disagreed, and yet you've got under Biden, and you definitely had previously under Obama, the Facebook, I should say rather, the Twitter page of the New York Post being shut down for 15 days to block the Hunter Biden laptop from hell story. I don't remember when people showed up at school board meetings under Donald J. Trump, the FBI coming out and investigating them as domestic terrorists. Yet this exact same thing happened to parents who've shown up at school boards and said, "Look, I'm not crazy about critical race theory, and I don't want my kids to be taught about gender and sexuality in first, second, and third grade." Under Donald J. Trump, if you want to go talk to your school board, go talk to your school board. Under Joe Biden, you do that, and the FBI is coming after you, which sounds, again, kind of dictatorial. So I think what it is the Democrats don't believe he's going to be Hitler or a dictator. I think what they believe is he will be, as he was for 4 years, an effective conservative president who will limit government, cut taxes, keep the federal government from expanding into a bunch of areas where it shouldn't want to go. And he'll be the most effective conservative president since, or maybe even before, Ronald Reagan. They don't like that ideologically. And rather than just say, look, we disagree with his ideas, we have better ideas, please vote for us because our vision for America is better than his, they've got to cook up this bizarre, twisted, demented notion that he's some kind of a, Hitler in the making or Stalin in the making. We didn't see any evidence of that for 4 years, including the first 2 when he had a Republican Congress, and he could have pushed through, these dictatorial fantasies of his with the help of, it would have been Mitch McConnell and Paul Ryan back then. There was no attempt to do any of this stuff. So if he didn't do it when he had, 4 years back then, especially 2 with a Republican Congress, why should they think he's going to do that now? So I think this is just a lot of nonsense they're spewing because they don't want to see an effective conservative Republican president in the White House.
Well, you've just made a great advocacy for my vote for Donald Trump. I would like to have that back yesterday, please. Thanks for being with us, Deroy. We're always grateful for your time.
Okay, grateful to be with you. Thank you, Annie.
Talk to you soon. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Deroy Murdock, national syndicated columnist and Fox News contributor, and Georgetown grad. Not a lot to say about some of his fellow alum. Let's take a quick break. When we come back, Senator Eric Schmitt on the Annie Frey Show. We're going to talk about that Murphy v. Missouri case and see what Eric Schmitt, who kind of was part of starting that whole thing, has to say about what has transpired so far and the importance of this case being heard in front of the Supreme Court. We'll be right back.
You're listening to The Annie Frey Show on St. Louis's home for conservative talk. Find the podcast, on-demand audio, and more at 971talk.com/Annie.
Michael's Flooring Outlet is online anytime at igotfloored.com. If you're shopping for flooring, make sure you give them a look-see over there on the website, igotfloored.com. You can go to that website and request an estimate directly by clicking a button right there at igotfloored.com. You can also see the different types of flooring that you can peruse through. You probably have an idea if you're going in for a carpet, if you're going in for maybe carpet tiles, which a lot of times has a good application for basements where there's going to be a lot of playing or entertaining, and you can kind of replace it if there's a spill a little bit easier. But they also have great high-performance carpet like the Mohawk Smart Strand carpet that is incredibly resilient. And when you go to Michael's Flooring Outlet and visit them at one of their 3 locations, they're going to walk you through what your options are. If you are looking for a hardwood look, there are a lot of different ways you can achieve that. And once you know what your budget is and the amount that you need, and you're going in to talk to Michael's Flooring Outlet sales staff, they're going to help guide you through the whole process. You can find them online at igotfloored.com.
Proper insulation in your home or business can save you money every month. The insulation experts at Koala Insulation of Gateway West in Metro East Illinois deliver efficiency and improved comfort. Big or small, Koala has you covered. Call or text Koala Insulation of Gateway West in Metro East Illinois at 314-756-5661 and find them on Facebook or check out the reviews at koalainsulation.com/gateway-west.
What better way to support your nutrition than with the multivitamin that was created right here in St. Louis? Neovitin Original Multivitamin was created by St. Louis physician Dr. Ribicki to support his own nutrition when he needed it most. Now, Neovitin Original Multivitamin is formulated with sensible doses of vitamins, minerals, antioxidants, and Dr. Ribicki's proprietary blend to give you nutritional support you won't find anywhere else. Neovitin is now conveniently available through our no-obligation monthly subscription. Cancel or pause at any time, and shipping is free. Support your nutrition with a subscription to Neovitin at neovitin.com today.
You're listening to the Annie Frey Show live from the Air Comfort Service Heating, Cooling, and Insulation Studio. Air Comfort Service is hiring licensed journeymen. Don't have a journeyman license? Air Comfort Service will help you get it. Get guaranteed hours year-round and more. Apply online at aircomfortservice.com.
St. Louis's home for conservative talk.
The Mark Reardon Show.
David Gregory.
If the federal government is not going to do their job to protect Missourians, we've got to step up and protect Missourians ourselves.
Weekdays from 3 to 6 on 97.1 FM Talk.
Life is challenging and ever-changing. Take control with passive income through real estate investing. Learn how. Learn now. Let Dell Walmsley and Lifestyles Unlimited's investors and mentors show you. Meet Dell's team live in St. Louis 2 days only at the Hilton Frontenac. Saturday and Sunday, April 27th and 28th. Register now at GiveMeTotalFreedom.com. That's GiveMeTotalFreedom.com. Enter promo code 2024 for a special discount offer. GiveMeTotalFreedom.com. Code 2024.
You're listening to The Annie Fry Show. Follow Annie on Twitter at Annie Fry Show.
My biggest concern is that your view has the First Amendment hamstringing the government in significant ways in the most important time periods. What would you have the government do? I've heard you say a couple times that the government can post its own speech, but in my hypothetical, kids, this is not safe, don't do it, is not going to get it done. And so I guess some might say that the government actually has a duty to take steps to protect the citizens of this country.
So that's Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson yesterday, and then she went on quickly to say...
Well, whether or not the government can do this is something I took up with Mr. Fletcher, depends on the application of our First Amendment jurisprudence, and there may be circumstances in which the government could prohibit certain speech on the internet or otherwise.
So I'm just going to say she had me at hamstringing the government, where I was like, whatever they're talking about, do more of that. Let's talk to the guy who kind of helped start all of this. Senator Eric Schmitt joins us on the Annie Fry Show here, the United States Senator from Missouri. We're always grateful to have you on, Senator. Thanks for your time today.
Great to be back with you, Annie.
What was your reaction? I mean, the Ketanji Brown Jackson comment there was a little disconcerting. That and the whole of the arguments that were heard earlier this week.
Yeah, I mean, that is it's revealing to hear that from a Supreme Court justice, but my response would be, that's exactly the point. Yes, the First Amendment is hamstringing the government from censoring speech. That is the entirety of the point. And I think to put that into context, you have to remember, when we were formed as a country or created, we were rebelling from an all-powerful king that one of the tactics to stay in power and to have control was quelling dissent, crushing dissent, not allowing opposing voices to have their say. And so the founders thought it was really important when they finally got to the Constitution and the Bill of Rights to say the very first individual right that we're born with, by the way, that should be protected from the government is your right to speak your mind, free speech. And so it is exactly the point. It's supposed to be a structural safeguard against these kind of abuses, which are very clear and obvious in this case. When I was AG and we filed this thing back in May of 2022, is around the time, you just kind of have to go back in time a little bit. I mean, they were trying to shut people down for talking about came from the Wuhan virology lab, which of course most people agree did. The efficacy of masks. We know now that masks are not really effective. They're talking about, the vaccine. They were talking about, all these sorts of things that people had a point of view on, and the government wanted to shut it down. And the crux of this case is essentially the government can't do it, but they can't outsource that to big tech giants either. And so, I think it's just a very important, perhaps the most important free speech case, certainly in our lifetimes, but maybe in the history of the country, because so much of this debate now has moved to the virtual town square.
Yeah, I incredibly agree with you, and kind of excited to see where this goes. I'm reading just here from a Fox News piece that highlights that the accused high-ranking government officials of working with giant social media companies, quote, under the guise of combating misinformation. If it's the government's responsibility to combat misinformation, then to me that means that the government owns the information and the ability to determine what is true and false. And then it goes on in this article to highlight the Hunter Biden laptop, COVID-19 origins, and the efficacy of face masks. And then it goes on to say that I guess Bailey argued, in other words, if you look at the free speech or the speech that was suppressed, censored at the federal government's demand, it was exclusively conservative speech.
Mm-hmm.
I can't imagine that conservatives are batting 1,000 of being wrong and the only ones that need to be combated regarding misinformation.
Right, and that gets to the fundamental issue, which is this was viewpoint discrimination, which if the government's doing that, it faces the highest level, strict scrutiny level of review, because we don't want that to happen in this country. The government doesn't get to decide what the truth is and what you can see and what you can say and what you can hear. The individuals get to make those determinations themselves. It kind of gets back to this fundamental. I mean, I remember being on your show when we were suing, 60-plus school districts when I was AG for mask mandates. The reality is, look, we believe as conservatives that people should take in all this information and make up their own minds. The government doesn't get to be the arbiter of what the truth is. And again, what makes this case unique is they don't get to have social media companies do their bidding. And what we were uncovered, one of the untold stories about this lawsuit is we were able to get discovery, which means we were able to get documents, emails, text messages before the preliminary injunction hearing, which we won at the district court. It was affirmed by the Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals and now at the Supreme Court. So we won at every level, and principally because we got 20-plus thousand documents that showed this kind of coercive behavior. Take this down or else. They had a special portal. They were, having weekly censorship meetings. I mean, the government was in this vast array of government agencies and people. This wasn't a one-off thing. This was a concerted effort by agencies people have never heard of, weighing in here and coercing these big tech giants to do their bidding. And that's just not something we should ever allow in this country.
Senator Eric Schmitt with us right now. Are you of the mind that since you filed this lawsuit that this stuff isn't happening anymore? Is that on hold with our federal government right now or local governments?
Well, it's interesting because the New York Times had a hit piece on this over the weekend, and I did an interview with them, and they talked to me about the case, but then their coverage of it, as you might expect now, is that, well, this is just a cover for more disinformation and misinformation. And I got to tell you, so I'm 48, and I'm old enough to remember when liberals actually believed in free speech. And now they've just been captured by this ends justify their means, result-oriented orthodoxy, where it's just their job to defend the Democrats' point of view on things. They don't. So I just think that. But the point I was making there is they've made the point that these agencies have pulled back, which is a good thing. But remember, when we filed this lawsuit, this was before Elon Musk bought Twitter. And before the Twitter files, before these government hearings. So when we filed it, I remember, there were a lot of these media entities and newspapers were sort of laughing it away. And again, I was just shocked by their cavalierness of dismissing the First Amendment as being important and dissent being important. So we've kind of crossed the Rubicon with the way they view the world. But again, I think I'm fine. Conservatives want to, carry the mantle for free speech and individual liberty. That's fine with me.
Yeah.
But we're not getting any help from the mainstream media, who again, they want so desperately to crush dissent and be weary of anybody who says they want to do it because it's disinformation or misinformation. That's just a cover many times for people to again silence people that disagree with them.
And I guess at least somewhat ironic to me that all of this being under the First Amendment and Americans' First Amendment rights, that includes freedom of the press. And if you are a journalist and being able to see the things that you were revealing and I'm 39 years old, and I can remember a time where this would have been a huge story to find out that the government was working to keep you from thinking things, let alone saying things. And you would think that journalism would want to tear that apart. And we saw that with Matt Taibbi and the Twitter files. Like, there was some real journalism taking place there. But it does also seem at the same time that the press, in some cases, is just lost.
Yeah, look, Woodward and Bernstein are dead. This idea that they were speaking truth to power, it's almost like they only really care about that when it's Republicans, when they can get some sort of gotcha thing. And that's not what our free press is supposed to be, because a robust free press is important to ask, the important questions. But we've got total alignment now between, the Democrat Party is now captured by the left. It's, what is it, like 95% of journalists donate to Democrats. And so they just don't want to tell the story. They don't want to question, because they want the result so bad. And Donald Trump just sort of like they can't get over it. They've lost their minds. They have this Trump derangement syndrome. And so they're willing to bulldoze any rule, any law, any norm just to make sure he doesn't win. And so that's what's scary about all this, when you have government working so closely with these social media companies to quell dissent. And in many instances, they actually change their terms of service or terms and conditions to kick people off, because there were things that people were saying that didn't violate their terms, but because the government was on their back so much, they changed the rules and used that as a pretext then to boot people off the platform. And so, and as another point here, we filed a lawsuit. Missouri and Louisiana filed it, and then there's other plaintiffs, including some folks from the medical community who were raising alarm bells about some of this stuff. And they were being called heretics. And Dr. Bhattacharya, who I'm actually doing a Twitter space with at 5 o'clock Central tonight, if people want to hop on. But anyway, we're going to talk about the case more. But he makes the point: look, science relies on questioning. You question assumptions, and you're always working. Think if we were still stuck with the medicine or surgical procedures from the 1860s. You know what I mean? Like,
no thanks.
Yeah, right. So science relies on people questioning things, and I think a robust debate in the public square and in the virtual town square now requires that. And through all those different voices, number one, it's a pressure release valve to keep us away from political violence, and number two, it also allows people to arrive at their own conclusions and debate things and try to persuade. That's a very American concept.
Senator Schmitt, one last thought here, a question before we let you go. We're grateful for your time. I'm reading some of the highlights that were just picked in this article about the Hunter Biden laptop, COVID-19 origins, efficacy of face masks. Of course, the timing of this being 2020. Do you think, that righteously indignant cause that the people and the bureaucracy on the left, the people who are in charge on the left, and the media that laps up everything that gets served by them, is this all about Donald Trump? Would this have happened should Donald Trump not been running for re-election or not been there?
No, I think he is a focal point for them. But the truth is, as he sort of said, they go after him because he's sort of in the way. Look, there'll be a world, in after he wins again and serves four more years, right, that there'll be another Republican nominee for president. Or, you see it on campaigns that run, other than running for president, running for United States Senate, it's the biggest campaign anybody ever runs. And you see it. You see the bias. They've convinced themselves. Look at the language that they use. Everything now is a threat to democracy. First of all, we're a constitutional republic, get that out of the way. But using their terms, all the things they accuse President Trump of, he didn't do those things. Right. But Joe Biden has literally created a censorship enterprise we've never seen before. And this is a judge saying it's Orwellian. We've never seen anything like this in the country before in an earlier decision. He's also tried to kick his political opponent off the ballot and throw him in jail for the rest of his life. Right? So who's the real threat here? And I think, again, the Democrats, they've just lost their minds. But to answer your question directly, it won't stop with Donald Trump. It won't. Their playbook now, they've crossed the Rubicon about, the last example I'll give you. If the Democrats take control of the Senate, Joe Manchin and Kirsten Sinema aren't going to be here anymore. They're not running for office. Hopefully we take the majority. I think we will. But if we're ever in a scenario in the next decade or whatever where they have the presidency, the House, and the Senate with 51 votes, they'll end the filibuster, Annie. They'll end it. Yeah. And what they'll do with that is they'll add states to the Union, D.C. and Puerto Rico. They'll federalize our elections. They'll pack the United States Supreme Court because they don't like some of these decisions that have come recently. This is all about power and control anymore. We're not talking about what's the difference between the corporate income tax rate. They want to fundamentally change this country forever, and we just can't let them do it. Which is why I've been so engaged in this fight, whether it was AG and now in the Senate, because I love this country, and there's so many people in real America that do too. And it's important for us to stand up, be counted, vote, make sure we vote in November, and again, make America great again, right? Yeah. As someone once said.
Amen to that. We've had a front row seat, Senator Schmitt, to your hard work when you filed this as Attorney General, still fighting the good fight as a senator. We're always grateful when you fit us in your schedule. Senator, thanks for being with us.
Anytime. Take care.
Yep, you as well. Bye-bye. Senator Eric Schmitt, Missouri Senator. Love having him on. Would love to have Josh Hawley on. He has busy afternoons. That's what I'm told. But Senator Schmitt is always gracious with his time. It's hard for me to look at the things that pushed the bureaucracy because a lot of this collusion was happening with between what the government wanted you to be able to say and think and what the social media, mostly Twitter, was willing to allow you to do. I mean, these are very leftist partnerships that are taking place. And you see so much aggressive censorship. I mean, when you think back on the things that you probably still have a little bit of a reflexive, I don't want to say online that I don't think masks work. Am I going to get in trouble for saying that? Imagine if I did. What kind of country, what kind of free country, First Amendment do we have to say that and effectively maybe be completely and totally wrong about it? Now, of course, I can be the first one to admit, if you're going to sneeze in my face, I would like you to wear a mask before you sneeze in my face. I understand the idea of a certain level of prevention and, the transportation of disgustingness that comes out of your body into the air and might make it into my system, that a mask would keep that to a lesser extent if you were sick. But when you go back and think about what we were mandated to do, specifically in the state of Illinois for a really long time, it's outrageous. And if you thought something differently, you were made to be a pariah. You weren't allowed to talk about it. You weren't allowed to discuss it. And they were very successful at that. And that's not something as big and consequential as people who chose to get shots or not to get shots, because we couldn't have an honest discussion about it. Everything became so political. And there is a good portion, I feel like there's about 4 to 5 years of our lifetime that we have lived in politically manipulated information. Mm-hmm. And it's not just what is discussed, it is as much what's not permitted to be discussed. And I said this the whole time. I never came out and told you to get a vaccine or told you not to get a vaccine. I never came out and told you if I got a vaccine, because I didn't think that my personal decision based on my health and what my medical providers were telling me really had anything to do with what your health is and what your medical providers are telling you. And good Lord, you shouldn't be taking medical advice from me. But there are so many people who disallowed conversation for people, even who might have had the vaccine and had an experience after it. It's your lived experience. How in the world could you not talk about it? If you have bad Taco Bell and you go on Twitter and you talk about it later, you're allowed to do that. You're allowed to say, had some Taco Bell, had a rough night. But not if you, I mean, that's like a finite amount of time, really, I hope. Yeah. If it's not, then I don't think it was a Taco Bell. It's not that different.
No.
You experience something, you speak out loud about it. Maybe you don't have the medical degree that is able to diagnose your experiences with, what you've consumed to say this is most definitely true. However, you can talk about it.
You should be able to talk about it.
How many people are self-diagnosing mental
Oh my gosh.
problems?
It's so frustrating. No, you don't have depression, you're sad. No, you don't have OCD. You just have a certain way you like to do things. These are not, they take the smallest thing and then they expand it into the biggest possible thing. But people do that sort of thing all the time. And you know what you don't get is banned off of line. Yeah. You don't get the government coming in and saying, you can't say that.
If you do have depression, you do need to seek help for it and get it diagnosed. If you are having a bad day or a bad week, that's not depression. Depression is real, and there's something deeper and in your mind insurmountable when it comes to something like depression. And if you feel those thoughts, if you feel like, I don't know if I can overcome this on my own, you absolutely need to get help for that. But generally speaking, the last thing that people who are going through that initially want to do is share it with the world. Mm-hmm. But that's the first thing that we want to do, is talk about our experience and say, I'm this, I'm that, and the other thing, without some sort of diagnosis. And my point is not that you shouldn't be able to do that. My point is that they said we couldn't do that, but about a particular thing. Mm-hmm. Why was that? That's the question. Eric Schmitt, great to talk to him. Always love when he comes on the show, and he's always great in getting straight to the point. Let's take a quick break. When we come back, we'll talk about the YouTube live chat poll. Are you paying attention to Kate Middleton? 3 options. You're paying no attention. You're curious or you're obsessed. Where's the Annie Fry Show audience on the Kate Middleton question? You go to the Annie Fry YouTube channel in the live broadcast. Vote there and leave a comment. If you so choose, we'll discuss it when we come back. Don't go away.
Better come to, don't die, you know the truth is some do. Go write your message on the pavement.
You're listening to the Annie Fry Show. Find the podcast, on-demand audio, and more at 971talk.com/Annie.
Go ask the dust for any answers. Come back strong with 50 belly dancers. The world I love, the tears I've tried to be part of the wave. Can't stop. Ever wonder if it's all for you? The world I love, the trains I hop to be part of the wave. Can't stop. Come and tell me when it's time to.
Saving money at Ruler Foods is as simple as going and filling your cart up with the things that you buy everywhere else. You just buy them this time at Ruler Foods. Check that bill out at the end when you go to check out and go, okay, now I get it. Your brands that you love to shop there at Ruler Foods, they also carry Kroger brands. Did you know that Ruler Foods is a Kroger brand store? You just get those brands at Ruler Foods prices. That's pretty nice. Starting tomorrow, you can save 10 for $10 on Totino's pizzas, a limited 10, and they also have Kroger chips, 7.5 to 8 ounces, limited 10. You get 10 of those for $10. And also starting tomorrow, Powerade, 28 ounces, 79 cents a piece. Kroger ground beef sold in a 3-pound roll, $8.97, and fresh avocados, 49 cents each. You stretch your grocery bills further when you shop at Ruler Foods. And if you go to their website at rulerfoods.com, you'll be able to see the current circular that goes out so that you can always know what the extra savings that you might enjoy will be right there on their website. Also, you can type in the zip code and find the Ruler Foods closest to you, rulerfoods.com.
Jeff Lynn's ELO.
Mr. Blue Sky, Mr. Blue White.
Live in concert in St. Louis. The Over and Out Tour. Jeff Lynn's ELO. The final tour. All the hits. Live at Enterprise Center. Friday, September 6th. Get tickets this Friday at 10 a.m. at livenation.com. Stevie Nicks. One special night. May 7th. Enterprise Center. Tickets on sale now at livenation.com. Don't miss Stevie Nicks. Live at Enterprise Center.
Mark Cox here. If you're nearing retirement or already retired, call my friends Thomas Helbig and Bob Kershaw with the Retirement Advisory Group. They'll show you how to link to the market without the risk. They're the official financial advisors of my show. Go online to retirementkey.com.
Today's YouTube live chat poll. Are you paying attention to Kate Middleton? If you don't know who Kate Middleton is, your answer is none. Our 3 options are none, I'm curious, or I'm obsessed. What we want you to do is we want you to go onto the Annie Fry YouTube page, Annie Fry on YouTube, search us, find us, vote in the poll, and then tell us why in the comments you voted the way you voted. Are you paying attention to Kate Middleton? None, I'm curious, or I'm obsessed. The time is 1:47. This time check is sponsored by Jerry Kelly Heating and Air Conditioning.
It's time for a $98 furnace tune-up.
The Reardon Fish Fry Fridays conclude this week in Oakville. Join me and the crew at Queen of All Saints Church. We're broadcasting live from 3 to 6 p.m. Details at 971talk.com/events. It's Fish Fry Fridays on The Mark Reardon Show. Hope to see you in Oakville.
You keep saying you got something.
This
for
is the
me.
Annie Fry Show.
Something
Follow
you call
Annie on
love,
Instagram
but
at
confess.
The Annie Fry Show.
You've been a messin' where you shouldn't have been a messin'. And now someone else is getting all your best. These boots are made for walking, and that's just what they'll do. One of these days these boots are gonna walk all over you.
Welcome back to the Annie Fry Show. The YouTube live chat poll for today, as Brad was just mentioning, are you paying attention to Kate Middleton? Brad, are you paying any attention to Kate Middleton?
I've got an eye on it.
I'm curious.
Yeah.
I'm 100% curious. I wouldn't like this whole thing around where's Kate Middleton. In January, she had planned abdominal surgery. The palace said she was going to have, they told people she's going to have this surgery. She will not be public facing until after Easter. So when the palace said this was going to happen, and it's not Easter yet, and she's not public facing yet, it seems like that should be explanation enough. But there's such a freaking hubbub about this. And the conspiracy theories that you people come up with are wild. And I'm intrigued.
Yeah.
I'm not obsessed with it, but after I check the news at night, I'm like, what's going on with Kate Middleton? So what's your understanding of the situation?
Well, I didn't know the palace had come out and said that she wouldn't be front facing or media facing until after Easter.
They said that a long time ago.
But I knew that she had abdominal surgery, and for me it was always just, okay, she's at home recovering from abdominal surgery, and it's not a big deal. I don't know why everybody's getting worked up. And then they released the one picture with the Photoshop, and I was like, it's a Photoshopped picture. I don't really care. And then the video comes out, and that doesn't look like her. But I'm also not convinced that that's William either, and that, to me, could be a case of mistaken identity.
Then why wouldn't the palace say so?
I don't know. This is the thing that's so frustrating to me. The palace could quash all of it by just giving a legitimate answer. Or they could have said, hey, none of these are her. We said she wouldn't be media-facing until after Easter, and it's not Easter yet.
Jesse Waters last night had somebody on. She was from the Daily Mail. She's like the American contributor to the Daily Mail or whatever. And she was like, I'm sorry, but I would do it in a British accent, but I can't. She's like, I'm sorry, but my philosophy is not that exciting. She had abdominal surgery, like the palace said, and they said she wouldn't be out until after Easter, like the palace said. So there's really nothing to see here. And I'm like, of course that's what you would say. And I don't know what I'm talking about, but I'm getting sucked in and I can't sleep at night. Man, I've reinvested in some melatonin lately, so I am getting a little bit better sleep. But there are people who say she's in a coma. There are people who say that they're spawning a clone for Kate Middleton.
Yeah, I've seen that one.
I've heard something about lizards. I was like, nope, not going into that room. You know, the little baby in the meme who walks in and goes, ooh, and then tiptoes back out. That was me on that one. Okay, first of all, Kate Middleton was outside looking fab right after she had a baby. As if that's not weird enough. It was more weird to see her then, and now it's weird not to see her now. The Photoshop picture, I think we talked about this briefly on the show before, but there were weird things like the sleeve. Listen, when women are photoshopping their pictures, they're photoshopping their jaw lines and smoothing out the wrinkles on their face. They're not fixing the sleeve of their daughter's jacket. That's not where your Photoshop skills are applied. And that's what was going on with that image. I've seen people superimpose Kate Middleton's Vogue cover and her face on the Vogue cover in the shorts that I'm watching on YouTube or wherever at Facebook. The face from the Vogue cover is the exact same faces as in that Photoshop picture. But I'm sitting here watching your video. I'm like, how do I know you didn't put that Vogue thing on there so you can make this video and make me go, oh.
How do I know you didn't Photoshop the Photoshop photo?
Yeah, I don't believe anybody. I also don't have an active anger or disrespect towards the Royals. I know that anytime there's like a big story about the Royals, people are like, I thought in 1776 we weren't going to deal with this anymore. And I'm like, that's not really the same thing. Like, it's different. You're not required to be interested, but if I'm going to bore myself with something that is unimportantly entertaining, I've seen people watch trash on TV that is less productive than watching whatever the Royals are putting out. There is a little bit of literal palace intrigue in that regard. It's an unusual lifestyle.
Yeah, we don't have that. We don't have that in the United States. Our palace intrigue is whose cocaine is it?
Yeah. I don't know if we won that one.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's always interesting because that lifestyle, because it's not an actual legal sense. They've got parliament, they've got a prime minister.
Yeah.
England does it. But they still maintain their monarchy as a sense of heritage and that sort of thing. And so it's interesting to see that sort of thing because they do stuff so differently. There's a right way and a wrong way according to the palace.
Also, there are not many other places that you can go to for immediate representation of what class looks like.
This is true.
Like, and I'm talking about appearances. Maybe the lifestyle is horrible. You know, you could go back to the 17th century and there'd be corsets and powdery wigs and stuff like that. Whatever. I don't want to go back to that. But the idea, look, when I see Kate Middleton in a perfectly tailored outfit, I just think, oh, that's refreshing to see. You watch the Oscars and people are like, here's a strip across my nip, and that's about all they got. And then you go to Kate Middleton, who's the most beautiful person in the world because she presents herself in an incredibly classy way, unlike what I just said.
That's amazing. Sorry, I'm sorry.
I didn't plan that.
It's the perfect description of what it is at the Oscars.
Yeah, and in fairness, sometimes you'll see somebody who goes to the Oscars and they chose not to go that route, and to me, they stand out.
Yes,
you're like, that is just elegant and beautiful, and that hopefully that's what they're going for. But things are going to resonate different. That's why it's taste. You want to see good taste in outward presentation, the royals are going to have it. It's one of the most important, like the way you are seen by people is really high up on the list, which is why I wonder why Kate Middleton isn't being seen after all the hubbub is going on. Photoshopped photos are being released. To me, it's like, if there isn't something super scandalous going on, she could just put makeup on her, unless she got a total mommy makeover, which is another one of those conspiracies out there. And again, if she got a mommy makeover, she's had 2 kids. So what? Is that like against palace code to get plastic surgery or something? I know that she has had incredibly difficult pregnancies. She's been in the hospital for pregnancies before. I hope it has nothing to do with that. Like, nobody else on the planet has to live their life for everybody to know everything about you all the time, the way the royals, like in a global sense. There are people who are celebrities in Hollywood who work to rise to the level where everybody wants to know everything you do. And then they get there and like, I would like my privacy. It's like, you work pretty hard for
they
no
go
privacy.
on a media tour declaring their privacy.
But I mean, I'm not entitled to know what's going on with Kate Middleton, but she's supposed to be a person of the people. And it just seems to me like if there weren't something totally strange going on, then it should be pretty simple for the palace to have her from a balcony like, hi, subjects. Hello. I'm here and alive, and it's really me. Goodbye. And then that would be enough.
Yeah, but the conspiracy theories would pick that apart, too.
Well, we're reading your responses here. Quick Rick says, Kate who? I know. We'll see how many of you agree with Rick. We'll be right back.
One of these days, these boots
Are you the decision maker in your company? Consider this. For the first time in decades, there's a better option for a corporate card and spend management platform. Meet Ramp, the only corporate card and spend management system designed to help you spend less money so you can make more. Most corporate credit cards offer points as incentives, but those points amount to less than their worth in real cash value. Ramp's corporate cards offer you cash back, real money in your pocket. Plus, you control who spends what with each vendor. And Ramp's software collects and verifies receipts automatically, which means you'll stop wasteful spending and close your books in hours instead of days. Businesses that use Ramp add up to 5% to their bottom line the first year. If you're a decision maker, adding Ramp could be one of the best decisions you've ever made. And now get $250 when you join Ramp. Just go to ramp.com/free. Ramp.com/free. RAMP.com/free.
Cards issued by Sutton Bank and Celtic Bank, members FDIC. Terms and conditions apply.
I'm embarrassed to say this. I've been using deodorant on my armpits for 30 years, and anytime I noticed odor anywhere else, I thought I needed another shower, I wasn't clean, or I felt like there was something wrong with me. And then my gynecologist told me about Lumi. It's a whole body deodorant for pits, feet, and privates that controls odor anywhere and everywhere on your body. Since Lumi, I never have to worry about body odor ever again, anywhere on my body. And that reassurance is worth every penny.
There's a special offer for listeners. Use code 300 and get an extra $5 off a Lumi starter pack that comes with a solid stick, cream tube, free product of your choice, and ships free with code 300. LumeDeodorant.com, code 300 for an extra $5 off a Lumi starter pack. With over 200,000 5-star reviews, I am so sure you're going to love it. Or return it for free. That's LumeDeodorant.com, code 300 for an extra $5 off a Lumi starter pack. LumeDeodorant.com, code 300.
Rhino Shield is far superior to even the best traditional exterior house paint. Rhino Shield is 8 to 10 times thicker than paint and comes with a 25-year transferable warranty. Rhino Shield is the only ceramic coating company that has been chosen by Disney, This Old House, and 3 times on HGTV's Curb Appeal, where every episode is concentrated on unpainted brick, bonds and seals to stucco, wood, hardy, block, color lock, masonite, and more. No better product for those steel aluminum-sided homes that have become, chalky and tired looking. We coat sloped and flat roofs to extend their lives too. After 15 years, we've got a great reputation and a superior product. As long as it's affordable, why wouldn't you do it? Before you make the costly mistake of painting with traditional paint, you'd be best served to call Rhino Shield today. We are the experts and our evaluations are free. 877-25-RHINO or 877-25rhino.com. Tell them, ladies.
No paint, don't Rhino. Go Rhino Shield. Never paint your house again. Rhino Shield.
KFTK FM Florissant. From the Under Law Injury Lawyers, GetJim.com studio. 97.1 FM Talk. Always live on the free Odyssey app.
The economic outlook is uncertain. On Lisa Brady, Fox News. That from the Fed chair as the central bank leaves a key interest rate alone again while they continue to assess inflation.
My colleagues and I are acutely aware that high inflation imposes significant hardship as it erodes purchasing power, especially for those least able to meet the higher costs of essentials like food, housing, and transportation.
Chairman Jay Powell is signaling that rate cuts are still expected this year, but they don't want to move too soon and reverse progress on inflation or wait too long and risk hurting economic activity. For now, he says inflation remains too high. Wall Street rallying into record territory after the Fed announcement. The Dow's up 291. 2 Senate panels get a closed-door briefing with intelligence officials about TikTok and have more questions about how to tackle security concerns without violating the Constitution.
We want our government to have a very strong tool to stop nefarious actions. So the question is, how do we get that?
Democratic Commerce Committee Chair Maria Cantwell says they may hold a public hearing on a House-passed proposal threatening to ban the app if the Chinese parent company doesn't divest. A House hearing on the danger of China to U.S. agriculture.
South Dakota Governor Kristi Noem told the House Ag Committee that she's watched China buy up ownership of our fertilizer companies, chemical companies, and processing plants.
When they buy up our land, they will complete their chain of control of our food supply. Between 2010 and 2020, the Chinese Communist Party's holdings of ag land increased by 5,300%.
She says the system that tracks it is so lax, we don't really know who owns our land, adding that she tried to get a bill through her state that would have forced each land purchase to be examined through a new state committee on foreign investment. While that bill failed, she said they do now have new reporting requirements on foreign land purchases.
Fox's Jessica Rosenthal. America is listening to Fox News.
The Angie's List you know and trust is now Angie, and we're so much more than just a list. We still connect you with top local pros and show you ratings and reviews, but now we also let you compare upfront prices on hundreds of projects and book a service instantly. We can even handle the rest of your project from start to finish. So remember, Angie's List is now Angie, and we're here to get your job done right. Get started at Angie.com. That's ANGI, or download the app today.
Tax Talk with Straight Talk.
You give and you give. This tax season, you get with Straight Talk Wireless. You get a reliable 5G network and unlimited data and a Samsung Galaxy A14 included when you buy an extended Silver Unlimited plan. So you can give your janky phone to your kid. Yeah!
Switch to Straight Talk. Find us at Walmart and StraightTalk.com. For network management practices, visit StraightTalk.com. Device offer ends 4/14/24. Taxes and fees apply.
Air Comfort Service, heating, cooling, and insulation, weather.
Chief Meteorologist Dave Murray.
Plenty of sunshine. The good news, the winds are lighter, but temperatures are a good 10 degrees cooler. 55 for the high later on today. Tonight, clear and cold, a quick drop out of the 50s into the 40s for evening plans. 32 for the low. Thursday, partly sunny, cold start, chilly day Thursday. 48 for the high. Friday, partly sunny, couple of limited rain showers possible, and 62. This is 97.1 FM Talk. Chief Meteorologist Dave Murray.
Getting quality employees to fill positions in your company is essential, but finding those people can be a major hassle, unless you use ZipRecruiter. ZipRecruiter makes finding quality people a breeze. And right now you can try it for free at ziprecruiter.com/radio. With ZipRecruiter, one click sends your job to hundreds of top job sites. But more than that, ZipRecruiter's advanced technology identifies the candidates with the skills you need, sends you a list of great matches to review, then actively invites them to apply for your job. And the results speak for themselves. 4 out of 5 employers who post on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. That's right, the first day. Now you can focus on your business and let ZipRecruiter do the work finding the best people for you. See for yourself. Experience the ease, efficiency, and power of ZipRecruiter for free. Just go to ziprecruiter.com/radio. That's ziprecruiter.com/radio. ZipRecruiter.com/radio.
Mark Cox, join me, Annie Fry, and Mark Reardon, along with Thomas Helbig and Bob Kershaw of the Retirement Advisory Group. They're holding their next Protecting Your Retirement educational event Tuesday, March 26th at the Frontenac Hilton at 6:30. Seats are limited, so go online at retirementkey.com. Here's Thomas with more.
Are you nearing retirement or already retired and wondering what to do with your life savings? Are you concerned about market volatility that's likely to occur as we get closer to the election? Would you like to know why linking to the market is smarter and safer than owning the market? Did you know if you're 59 and a half or older, you can roll over your company retirement plan tax-free to protect your nest egg from any losses and provide more income than your current plan? You'll get all the answers and more. If you're 59 and a half or older, you can't afford to miss this event.
Protect your retirement nest egg and join the official financial advisors of my show, Thomas Helbig and Bob Kershaw, Tuesday, March 26th at the Frontenac Hilton at 6:30. Go online to retirementkey.com. That's retirementkey.com.
You've listened to 97.1 FM Talk. You've heard of Doug Voss of Voss Financial and Safe Money Radio, as he has been a staple as the financial expert on the station for many years. You can hear him on Safe Money Radio several times a weekend right here on 97.1 FM Talk. And you can talk to Doug Voss directly. Here's his number. Call Doug at 844-676-SAFE. That is 844-676-7233. Doug Voss is a registered representative. Securities offered through D.H. Hill Securities, LLP. Member FINRA and SIPC.
Don't let a cold, sinus infection, or allergies ruin your day. Breathe easier, sleep better, and feel healthier with Navage. Visit Navage.com, Walmart, Walgreens, CVS, or a store near you.
The Reardon Fish Fry Fridays conclude this week in Oakville. Join me and the crew at Queen of All Saints Church. We're broadcasting live from 3 to 6 p.m. Details at 971talk.com/events. It's Fish Fry Fridays on The Mark Reardon Show. Hope to see you in Oakville.
The Annie Fry Show YouTube live chat poll of the day is sponsored by Ruler Foods. Low prices, no coupons. Ruler Foods.
That is exactly what I needed to hear.
Thank God someone here knows what they're talking about.
That's us. That's right. Gotta love this American ride.
All right, you need to take the time and get the full picture.
Don't get me wrong, I love the ladies. I mean, they rev my engine, but they don't belong in the newsroom. It is Anchor Man, not Anchor Lady.
What do you want from me? I'm not America's sweetheart.
Goodness sake, kid. Keep your voice down. Your father's listening to the radio.
I'm not America's sweetheart.
This is the Annie Fry Show.
I mean, they're putting out pictures that are edited, and then when they're asked to release the unedited photo, they refuse. I mean, what are they expecting? That there will be conspiracy theories, and I don't even want to call them conspiracy theories because people are just not buying the official story because of the way the palace has handled it. And when you look at the picture that we posted, you know, there are people now, they're so skeptical, they're reviewing it like the famous Zapruder film that was shot when John F. Kennedy was assassinated, where you can see bricks outside the car that don't necessarily match with the way the bricks look from inside the car. So the trust of Buckingham Palace has just been obliterated because of this.
The great journalist Harvey Levin from TMZ saying that Buckingham Palace has just obliterated their trust. That's the YouTube live chat poll for today. I am very curious of you folks out there listening to us here on 97.1 or the Andy Frey Show specifically. Are you paying any attention to Kate Middleton? None. You're curious or you're obsessed? Just kind of trying to take the temperature of the audience out there. Have a feeling of where this is going to shake out, but as we talked about a little bit before, Brad and I both said that we have now been raised to the level of curiosity, although it's not like the peak interest of my internet searches on a daily basis. Ethan is in here for the 2 o'clock hour. We're excited to have Ethan back. Hi.
Hey, what's up? How's it going?
Good. We had you to come in to give us a Kate Middleton report. How do you feel about that?
Well, before I do that, let me just say that there's just something about sitting in this chair, knowing that there is greatness from parts of the 12 to 3 o'clock window every single
complimenting Ryan
month.
Wiggins?
I don't know what I'm doing.
He can't hear you.
Yeah, he can't hear you. So let me just
He's not even in the country.
Before this very detailed Kate Middleton report, let me just say that, oftentimes when I am here for work is that people ask me, oh, who are you today? Because, normally I'm the fill-in for everyone at both KMOX and 97.1.
Yeah.
And I walked into Ryan's office yesterday and I said, you know what, Ryan? By the time that you get back, I said, people are going to be asking you who you are. He
probably almost canceled his trip.
He laughed. He said, no. And then he said, I thought you were going to say that by the time that he gets back, he said, you're going to be saying that you're me. And I was like, well, in 1 week, that would be a lot of aging and it would be a lot of balding. So I don't know if that's going to happen. Ryan, I love you. I appreciate you, Ryan.
Just give Ryan something to come back and claim once he's here.
Yeah,
I like it.
So
Set
there
the bar.
it is.
Ryan's philosophy is to set the bar as low as possible so you can always exceed expectations little by little.
I feel so relieved because of that.
Yeah.
'Cause now I feel like there's no way that I can possibly fail this.
Just try to hit the ball out of the park every day.
Perfect. Okay.
Kate Middleton, go on.
The start of my report. She's a princess. And she hasn't been around for a while, and everyone's freaking out because they don't know where she is. And I will conclude with, why does anyone care? The end. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk.
You would be a nun in today's poll. No concern whatsoever.
No?
None.
Why? What's the point of it?
Like if you were walking through the office here and news, we got several TVs throughout the course of the office that have news up. If the headline was like, Kate Middleton truth exposed, you wouldn't stop to find out what it was.
I mean, maybe. But even if I did, it would be probably a quick let's say even if it was something crazy, probably like a, okay, now what?
Onwards unpacking your lunch.
It feels very that family as a whole, and we talked about it, it was pretty big, I feel like, when Queen Elizabeth passed, and then even, the whole Meghan Markle situation and all that, the drama with her, it's like, what's the point? What's the point of, I'm not saying that for those citizens, there's not significance, the history behind it, but
but we're not them.
Us, exactly. For us, it's like, why? It feels very much so, I'd say to a lesser extent, but for maybe in viewing this from an outsider's point of view, when the whole Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce thing happened for you guys, Andy, you were all in on, you're like, what's going on? Is it a thing? What's going and that's kind of what this feels like, what's going on? I'm kind of interested. What's the, fans, listeners, what do you guys care? And
I think the Taylor Swift thing for me, I probably seemed more of a fan of Taylor Swift than most people. I don't know where Mark and Mark were on the Taylor Swift thing.
Yeah.
I have incredible respect for her as a businesswoman. And so I'm not predisposed to hating her for sport, which is what a lot of people do.
Yeah.
It's not enough to be like, I don't care. I don't think about it. I don't care. She was in our face so much that it was impossible to not have an opinion on it. It's very similar to Donald Trump. You're not gonna come across Donald Trump anywhere and be like, oh, what's this guy? What's this guy about? You know, and
No
you have a
kidding.
thought and opinion on it. I do wonder if the amount of time that Donald Trump is having to spend in the courtroom, Brad, is probably a great benefit to him. The visual is him being persecuted. I mean,
Yes.
that's the simple way to put it. Whether he did anything wrong or we'll figure it out. But watching these obnoxious bond posting, it's so outrageous what they are doing to him, the extent with which they're doing it to him. And you know that it wouldn't be happening if the political affiliations were different. If the image is him being in court all the time, and then he gets to send surrogates out that don't say things in the same way that Donald Trump would say them, political advantage potentially.
Oh, I think it is a political advantage. It's almost like the Democrats are creating the Biden basement strategy, but for Trump. But it's the courtroom strategy. We'll put him
jail.
We'll put him in the courtroom where he can't. I don't think they realize this. We'll put him in the courtroom where he can't go out and he can't, do rallies and all this other stuff, and that'll delete his base. No, his base isn't going anywhere. That's one thing that I think we have determined. Donald Trump's base is about as rock solid as they come. So then what you're doing is you're taking away the stuff that people don't like, the ick factor that Donald Trump has for a lot of people, and you're not giving him a chance to do that. And so now he's not on Twitter or X. He's in the courtroom, not out doing rallies, saying stuff that he doesn't like, that people don't like. And now all they can do is look at what Joe Biden's doing and then focus on Donald Trump's policies, and Donald Trump's surrogates that go out on his behalf have a chance to get his policies out there. And people go, well, you know what? That sounds a lot better to me. So it's almost like they created a basement strategy for him.
Ethan, you're in your early 20s.
Correct.
Do your peers have opinions on Donald Trump?
That's a good question, and I feel like honestly my peers, I don't know, it's kind of hard to know like if my peers, like how I guess they accurately represent my age group, because I feel like so much of my age group is that like I'm a conservative white male.
Yeah.
Like, right? And I feel like that is very like looked down upon as like the minority of like, oh, that's not the popular opinion. So like,
do you think that people who are in their 20s, early 20s, recent grads, about to be grads or whatever, if they're young white males, do they see that the world is not accepting of them right now?
yes, but I still don't think that it's very much so talked about, because it's still in today's society, while it has gotten better, it still, I think, is the main, I think, men are viewed as like, well, like, suck it up. Like, there isn't necessarily a like sympathy level for that. And I'm not saying necessarily that there has to be a huge one, but does that make sense?
Yeah, I think, Ethan, that you've spent your formative years in probably the most politically charged of my lifetime. Man hating, Brad, you could speak better to this than I could, but I remember I was born in the 80s, and I kind of remember the girl power thing. I remember being in like junior high, middle school, and there would be girl power shirts. And I remember kind of liking them. Like, I was like, yeah, because I played sports. I did things that boys did. And, I was the girls that were in my class didn't play like, we just had a couple girls who played basketball, but I played basketball. I played softball with other girls, obviously. But there was kind of like this girl power thing that existed that is so different than what girl power is in 2024 or would have been in 2018 or 2019. But I'm thinking, like, if you were to come of age in the last 5 to 10 years as a young white man, your formative years, you've been pretty much told to sit down, shut up, and know your role.
Yeah. Looking back on the girl power thing, how I felt whenever that was going on, it's like, oh, that's kind of cool. Girls get to do their thing, and girls can do some of the stuff that guys can do, and, all that other thing. I never really felt attacked for it initially, but eventually it did. It morphed into something more like, rather than girl power, it's like, guys are the problem. Guys aren't doing this, whatever. And that became the attack. That became when I started feeling like, man, I gotta kind of got a problem with this. And that's when feminism and all that other stuff, when I started learning the word feminism. I think I was probably junior, senior in high school when I really started paying attention to that. So I started looking at this. I'm like, I don't know that this stuff is so what it's trying to do. Like people say, oh, feminism's about equality. And it's like, but it hasn't been. And it hasn't been for quite some time. It's been about pushing men down.
I think postmodern feminism is about not elevating women, but denigrating men. And it's a difficult place, Ethan, to be like raising. I have a 14-year-old son. I have 3 daughters as well. And they're probably, my oldest is 11, female. And they're probably about 11-year-old girl who's super mature and a 14-year-old boy who's as 14-year-old boy as you can get. They're about the same maturity level.
Yeah, it sounds about right.
Yeah. And it's interesting to focus on the way we're raising them, and that you do it differently. And, there are things that my husband is going to raise my son to do that men do. And there are things I'm going to raise my daughter to do, to not ever think she's less than, but also to know how to be treated and, so on and so forth. But I do feel like these last years where you probably were in high school and in college, do you like the idea of DEI, diversity, equity, inclusion? Do you feel like you've experienced that in your education much?
Not much, no, but I know it. I mean, it's out there. It's clearly out there.
You can't see it because you're a white man.
Yeah. Now you're starting to catch on, Annie. Now you're starting to catch on. No, I would say that yes, but very, very little personally. And part of that, honestly, is that when things like that do come up, it's almost just like, okay, like whatever. Like I'm not going to allow that to draw like a lot of mental time for me and like focus on that. But I will say this, you brought up, parenting in today's day and age, and I cannot, and it's things that I think about as I'm going to be getting married here in a few months. And then all of a sudden, like eventually want to have children. Like I can't imagine in today's day and age what it's like to raise children, knowing like what so much of society and culture is pushing. And also knowing that a lot of that, like my values, my morals, my ideals don't match a lot of that. Like what is that healthy balance in trying to raise your children in a way that you feel is right, but also like knowing like, yeah, they're going to have to face the world, and they're going to have to be put in the world. And you're not always going to be able to be there to hold their hand and like, or protect them in that way from what society is shoving down teenagers' throats. It's a tough spot to be as a parent.
Yeah. You kind of have to like gird them for battle. Like you can't take the fight away from them. You have to prepare them to fight the fight
That's
for
scary,
themselves. It is. But you kind of said this without, I think, this is what I was hearing you say when I was asking you, like, do you experience the DEI stuff, or have you felt the white man bad attitude of the last 5 to 10 years? To me, what I hear you saying is like, I know who I am and I know what I'm not. So you could throw it at me and I'm not going to throw a fit about it, whatever, but I'm going to move on with my life. So that's not a roadblock for you.
Yeah. I feel like I was way more, this is kind of backwards, but I feel like I was way more politically charged actually when I was in high school and way more public about it. And I think part of that was just I've learned to like mature a little bit and like how exactly I go about having those conversations, and rather than, being a instigator in some of those things.
That's a natural maturity.
I've learned to become way more conservative with that, and way more not being the first to speak. And I feel like in today's society, you're way more likely to get that like white man bad, like a lot of those things if you are the first one
if you're hunting
going
for it.
out. Yes. And I'm not saying that it doesn't happen if you're not like a little bit more conservative with your thoughts and your morals and your ideals. But I feel like there definitely is a correlation with if you're the one that's putting it out there constantly, or, you see people, you see the Twitter wars and all these things going on. That's where honestly you see a lot of that stuff happening. If you're not like actively putting your thoughts and your stuff out there, you're probably not going to get it back as much. And part of that too is that I know what I believe, and I'm confident in what I believe, and I'm okay, and I don't really care what a lot of people think about what I believe. So I don't need to necessarily go out there and have those battles and have those arguments. So I think that's definitely part of it too.
When you're talking about parenting being kind of scary, I think that the most important thing to do is when you know who you are and whose you are, then everything else falls in line. You just got to make sure that focus is pinpoint. It's just very clear.
Yeah.
And if you have that foundation, at least in my family, when things start to get off path, you at least know where the path, you know your proximity to the path. Okay, things veered a little bit here. Let's do what we got to do to get back on the right path and move forward. But I think it's a good sign, though, that you kind of know that it's been happening over the course of the time that you've been growing up. But if you know who you are and whose you are, then it doesn't penetrate you and take over you the way I think in some cases it's meant
Totally.
to do.
Completely agree.
Interesting conversation. Here, Ethan joining us, trying to take over Ryan Wiggins' job while he's in Japan very boldly. You want to give us a Cardinals update when we come back?
Absolutely.
All right. Let's get to your professional expertise when we return. Ethan, he hosts a podcast. We'll talk to you about that as well when we come back. We'll give us a little update on the St. Louis Cardinals and see how things are faring in spring training. I hear today is a big day in Major League Baseball. He'll tell us about that when we come back as well. Don't go away.
The Annie Fry Show is streaming online. Watch us live on YouTube and subscribe.
Stewart's American Mortgage is the home of the bagel loan. And when you reach out to Stewie at this number, it's his direct line, 314-324-4440. You're going to be connected directly to him, and you can get that mortgage conversation going. He can work very fast with you if you are just starting the process of shopping for a new home and you want to know what kind of rates are out there and you want to know how he can help you. Call him, start the conversation. You can text him as well at 314-324-4440. Ask him about the bagel loan. When you use the bagel loan, which is only available with my friend Stewie at Stewart's American Mortgage, you are going to pay zero in closing costs that all the other lenders out there are going to charge you for. He's easy to work with. I'm a 2-time bagel loan customer myself, so I speak from experience of working with him professionally and also knowing him as my friend. And I encourage you to entrust your mortgage situation, be it a new mortgage or refinance, by calling or texting 314-324-4440. 314-324-4440. You can Google the bagel loan, NMLS number 226715.
Spring training is here, and it's almost time to embrace the essence of summer and let the soothing tones of Cardinals baseball transport you to warm, sun-soaked days. With the free Odyssey app, relive the joy of tuning in with your transistor radio, now seamlessly connecting you to every St. Louis Cardinals game on KMOX. Wherever your summer takes you, make sure to download the Odyssey app today and savor the sounds of Cardinals baseball. That's AUDACY, redefining your summer soundtrack. Live games available for fans and market only.
AMCO presents Bet You Didn't Know.
Bet you didn't know that your car's transmission is made up of 800 pieces. Also, bet you didn't know that AMCO's fixed over 40 million transmissions, and that AMCO offers a nationwide warranty.
AMCO offers easy payment plan options for most any credit situation, so you can fix it fast and pay it off slow at AMCO.
That's AMCO, AA, MCO.
The IRS definitely ramped up operations since the pandemic slowed them down, and activity only increases from here. Hi, this is Lance Stewart with the Lance Stewart Law Firm. If you're currently under audit or you haven't paid your taxes in the past, now's the time to call the Lance Stewart Law Firm. The IRS has a published taxpayer bill of rights which says you have the right to retain legal representation because IRS problems are legal problems, and the Lance Stewart Law Firm focuses specifically on addressing IRS issues for our clients. It's all we do. We get out in front of the IRS, devise the best resolution plan, and work to make sure you're able to take advantage of every program you're qualified to receive. So before you send money to some out-of-town, high-pressure company, call the Lance Stewart Law Firm. We're local, located right here in St. Louis, or visit Lance, DRURYlaw.com to schedule your free consultation with your local tax resolution law firm, the Lance Stewart Law Firm, 314-260-6120.
The choice of a lawyer is an important decision and should not be based solely upon advertisements.
You're listening to the Annie Fry Show live from the Air Comfort Service Heating, Cooling, and Insulation Studio. Make your home comfortable year-round with routine HVAC maintenance from Air Comfort Service. Maintenance plans start at $15 per month and get 1 month free when you pay monthly. For details, visit aircomfortservice.com.
Keeping you connected and aware.
In the world, the country, and the community.
And offering more ways than ever to listen conveniently. Tell your smart speaker to play 97.1 FM Talk or download the Odyssey app. This is the Annie Fry Show.
Well, I went down to the Grundy County auction.
Follow Annie on Twitter at Annie Fry Show.
Had to have. My mind told me I should proceed with caution, but my heart said go ahead and make a bid on that. And I said, hey, pretty lady, won't you give me a sign? I'd give anything to make you mine on mine. I'll do your bidding and be at your beck and call. Yeah, I've never seen anyone looking so fine. Man, I gotta have her, she's a one of a kind. I'm going once, going twice. I'm sold on the lady in the second row. She's an 8, she's a 9, she's a 10, I know. She's got ruby red lips, blonde hair, blue eyes.
Welcome back to the Annie Fry Show. We've got Ethan in here today. He's going to visit us a couple days. You're coming back tomorrow, right? 2 o'clock?
Oh, I sure am.
Yes, fantastic. And Carl is going to be in here Friday to host.
He's going to host X's and O's.
X's and O's. Carl from the morning show. I've worked with Carl for a very long time, and I'm excited to have him come host X's and O's. I have no idea what's going to happen, but then again, I never know what's going to happen.
That's a little horrifying to think about, but I'm like, I guess you're kind of used to it.
Yeah, usually I kind of feel like my week goes up until 2 o'clock on Friday, and then I just hand it over to Wiggins. I'm just going to do it to Carl. We'll see what happens. We'll make it to 3 o'clock one way or another. So I wanted to ask you, Ethan, a little bit about the St. Louis Cardinals, because you pay very close attention to. You work with the St. Louis Cardinals. What's the name of the podcast?
The Lou Sports Talk.
I want people to just go subscribe to The Lou Sports Talk with Ethan, and you've got some co-hosts, don't you?
Yeah, I got a couple of my Lindenwood broadcasting buddies that we've had some great guests on here for the last several months. We just had Chris Kerber on our last episode, The Voice of the Blues, talking about the quiet deadline that the Blues had, and then we're going to be recording an episode here this upcoming week, some opening day projections, working on some fun guests for that as well.
So what's going on with Major League Baseball right now, specifically the St. Louis Cardinals? What do people need to know?
Specifically for the Cardinals, I think the name of the game right now is, what's this team going to be looking like heading into opening day? There were a lot of areas of this roster that going into the spring, John Mozeliak and company thought that they knew what this roster was going to look like. We knew what the 5-man rotation was going to look like. The infield was all set. The bullpen was kind of a question mark, and the outfield was for sure set. I think that may have been the first thing that was set in the offseason, was that we knew that it was going to be Lars Nootbaar in left, Tommy Edman in center, and Jordan Walker in right. Well, injuries have completely changed everything.
I was going to say it was set, and then it wasn't.
Who's hurt right now? Who's not starting the season?
Yes. So Sonny Gray, the Cardinals' biggest signee in the offseason, was set to be our number one. He tweaked his hamstring early in the spring. He's been recovering very well, but he has been announced that he will not be the opening day starter. That got announced a couple of days ago. Miles Michaelis will be starting on opening day against the LA Dodgers.
Sonny Gray injured his hamstring before?
He has. He went through the entire 2023 season, no issues with it. He had a couple of issues back in 2022 where he did miss some time on a couple of separate occasions. He did talk about, and everything has been that this is progressing very positively, that this is a very small issue. They're just wanting to make sure that he goes about it well. He has not had to slow down the throwing progression really much at all. It's really just been trying to be careful with that hamstring, make sure that this doesn't progress into anything more than it is. So Sonny Gray, they've talked about he could be pitching on the first road trip or even opening day in St. Louis potentially. They've also talked about, it just got mentioned, John Mozeliak was on with Tom Ackerman this morning on Camo X, said that there's a chance that he could also end up on the IL to start off the season and could miss a couple of starts. So still up in the air as to what Sonny Gray, when he's going to be first seeing action in a Cardinal uniform in the regular season is, but that's definitely been the biggest piece for the Cardinals that has been injured.
We talked about this a little bit, I think it was yesterday or the day before. The first month of the season was atrocious for the Cardinals last year, created a big hole, and what they need to avoid this year is digging another hole. And my big concern with this team right now is these injuries. You're going in without a couple, well, I would say at least 3 key pieces, with Nootbaar being injured, with Edman being injured, and then Sonny Gray, your centerpiece from your offseason, being injured. What do the Cardinals need to do in the first month to make it a successful first month without the people like losing their minds? I don't know if that's possible, but
sure. Yeah, I think that if you are looking at a win number that you're saying, if the Cardinals get through the month of April and this is where they at, take a little bit of a sigh of relief, I think you're probably looking in that 15 to 17 mark. The Cardinals have a tough stretch to start off the season. They're going to start off the year on the road, 4 games against L.A., the Dodgers, who had a historic offseason, bringing in Shohei Ohtani as well as Yoshinobu Yamamoto. They put in $1.2 billion
That's ridiculous.
over the next 15, 20 years into those 2 players. So they start off the season against them, and then you got the Padres, who just acquired Dylan Cease, one of the best pitchers in baseball. And then they come home for opening day. They got the Marlins, a playoff team from last year. They got the Phillies, who have been in the NLCS the last 2 years. And then mixed in there as well, you got the Diamondbacks in 2 series in April. Of course, the pennant winners last year in the National League. So, and then it kind of eases up a little bit towards the latter half of the month, but there's going to be some challenging opponents here to start off the year. So I think that the biggest thing that I could say for Cardinals fans is stay patient in those first couple of weeks of the year. If we can average things out to where we can get back to that 500 range, perhaps a game or 2 above 500 going into May, I think you feel really good about this team, because then obviously, well, if you have a lot of tough opponents at the beginning of the year, that's going to level out more as the year goes on.
Is this team going to be more fun to watch than last year?
I think so. I mean,
Hard not to be.
Amen to that. Amen to that. Yeah, last year, 71-win season, the worst for the Cardinals in 30 years. When you look at so many of on the individual aspect of things, Nolan Arenado and Paul Goldschmidt, when you look at their numbers from last year and you look at, an average baseball line.
I was going to say they're good numbers for an average guy.
They're fine numbers. But for those two, those two were coming off of, Paul Goldschmidt won the National League MVP in 2022. Nolan Arenado was top 3 in the voting. So you have to expect that they're going, just hearing all of their comments in the offseason, I would be really surprised if we saw numbers like that again this year from them. I have to imagine both of them are going to have better seasons than they did last year. You have Jordan Walker, who took very exciting steps in the latter half of the 2023 season.
I was going to ask you, what are you most excited to see pan out?
Man.
Mason Wynn? Jordan Walker?
Such a good question.
Matt Carpenter?
I would probably say the young guys.
Why are you talking so high? That's what Ryan Wiggins does when he's full of crap.
Well, it's because you brought up. It's because you. Matt Carpenter.
His role on this team is not to be like the big numbers guy.
No.
Do you think it's for what they signed him for? Do you think he's going to fit that role?
Absolutely.
I could see how a veteran status guy that kind of sets the tone would have been not present last year after the biggest presences of all in like my lifetime, the St. Louis Cardinals, with Pujols and Molina being gone, unfillable hole. Left.
Totally. And all of a sudden when you have that hole, and yes, it's 2 players, but the significance that those 2 players carry, the Cardinals, and we've heard comments from Nolan Arenado, Miles Michaelis, other players in the offseason saying there wasn't enough of that veteran mentorship. And some of those veterans that were on the team last year that will be on the team again this year, also, they've mentioned that they just didn't do a good enough job leading in the midst of that. It's so easy, especially in baseball, which leans so much on the mental part of the game. Like, if you're struggling, then it can be so easy to get in your own head and focus on your own game rather than realizing there's an entire clubhouse of players that are younger than me that I need to be mentoring right now. And for the Cardinals to bring back a guy like Matt Carpenter, Lance Lynn, to sign a veteran like Brandon Crawford, which at first I was like, is there a point to it? But you have a guy like Mason Wynn, who you want to be your shortstop of the future. Pairing him up with a guy like Brandon Crawford, who has won multiple world championships, multiple gold gloves. I think that the veteran aspect of things, yes, are the Cardinals one of the oldest teams on average in baseball? Sure are. And there is a little bit of skepticism of that within the fan base, but I think that what fans aren't thinking about is how important it is having that veteran leadership. And over the last 2 years, losing out on, like you said, Pujols, Molina, and now Adam Wainwright, you have to fill that somewhere. So bringing in some of these guys, I think that it's going to go a long way for this team as far as, what do you do when you've lost 5 out of 5 or 10 out of 15? Or what do you do when you go through that rough spell?
You probably have a major rebuilding year.
Let's hope not. Let's hope not.
Well, I think we did. I think that we
Sure,
have done that.
but I'm talking about here in 2024. Like, what happens when you go through a rough stretch? Because you're going to. It's part of the game. It's a long season. It's a long summer. The dog days get tough. What do you do when adversity hits? And that's where your veterans step up, and that's where they set the tone for the team.
Yeah. Well, I encourage people to subscribe to your podcast, Ethan, the Lou Sports Talk, to find out more about this and everything that has to do with St. Louis sports. Thank you for that update, because we don't talk about baseball too much here. A lot of times baseball's happening at the same time, and I don't want to remind you to leave. I want you to stay with me and get the updates later from the Lou Sports Talk. Not on my time. No, it's so selfish. Let's take a quick break. When we come back, for the people who wanted to dive into that baseball talk, there's some of that going on in the chat. For the people who wanted to go a different direction, I don't really know how. Let me just put it this way. I'm going to play Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez when we come back. That might not be a tease that you hear from me and go, okay, well, I have to hear what Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez said. But Brad, they want to hear this exchange with Tony Bobolinsky.
The people want to hear this.
The people need to hear it, and you're going to hear it on the Annie Fry Show when we come back on St. Louis's home for conservative talk, 97.1 FM Talk. We'll be right back.
Going twice, I'm sold on a lady in a long black dress. Well, she won my heart, it was no contest. With a ruby red lips, blonde hair, blue eyes. Well, I'm about to bid my heart goodbye.
This is the Annie Fry Show.
Point Pest Control, that's point with an E, P-O-I-N-T-E, pointpestcontrol.com is the website. And I'm going to encourage you right now to reach out and call them for your pest problem. Even if you've only seen a few bugs. In my house, of course, I saw a couple spiders in a short amount of time. They were wolf spiders. Scared the crap out of my kids. I didn't even see them, and they scared the crap out of me. And I just had to get rid of them all, everywhere. I had to trust that they were gone. And so I called Point Pest Control. They came to my house. This was last November. I haven't seen a single bug in my house since last November. True Scout's honor, not even a single bug flying around my house, crawling on the floor, spooking my kids, freaking me out. Not at all. If you're interested in having Point Pest Control come out to your house and give you that same treatment that they gave me, call them at 636-798-0023. Mention Annie and get an extra 10% off the top of any other specials that they have going right now. I stand by as a customer of theirs. These are the people you want to call. They are great friends and partners of the Annie Fry Show now. I'm excited to be able to tell you about them, and I hope that you will use their services for your pest problems, be it spiders, ants, crickets, mice, whatever it might be. Point Pest Control is there to solve the problem. 636-798-0023, pointpestcontrol.com.
Experience the beauty of custom-crafted windows that enhance your home's aesthetics and energy efficiency. Look no further than Infinity from Marvin, proudly brought to you by Lakeside Renovation and Design. Why choose Infinity? These windows are not just strong, they're 8 times stronger than vinyl, providing unmatched security for your home. Plus, with Lakeside's expert installation, you're guaranteed precision and perfection. Visit our showroom or call Lakeside Renovation and Design today. Elevate your home with Infinity from Marvin, where strength meets style.
Hi, Chad Hansen from Hansen's Tree Service. Since our friends in DC can't get inflation under control, I thought I would do my part by offering a 10% discount on all tree work performed now through March. Let us do the hard work this winter while you stay bundled up in your home. Check us out today at hansenstree.com.
Hey, it's your last chance to get your vote in on the Annie Fry Show YouTube live chat poll. Are you paying attention to Kate Middleton? None. I'm curious, or I'm obsessed. Those are your 3 options. If you're saying, who's Kate Middleton? Your answer is none. But if you cannot put down your phone or you can't stop scrolling to figure out what the next thing that comes out, you're going to be obsessed. What we want you to do is jump on Annie's YouTube page and vote in the poll. And then after you vote, tell us why you voted the way you voted in the chat. The time is 2:41. This time check is sponsored by Jerry Kelly Heating and Air Conditioning.
$1 furnace tune-up.
The Reardon Fish Fry Fridays conclude this week in Oakville. Join me and the crew at Queen of All Saints Church. We're broadcasting live from 3 to 6 p.m. Details at 971talk.com/events. It's Fish Fry Fridays on The Mark Reardon Show. Hope to see you in Oakville.
He was a hard-headed man. He was brutally handsome.
This is the Annie Fry Show. Follow Annie on Twitter @Annie Fry Show.
And he held her for ransom in the heart of the cold, cold city. He had a nasty reputation as a cruel dude. They said he was ruthless. They said he was cruel. They had one thing in common. They were good in bed. She'd say, faster, faster. The lights are turning red. Life in the fast lane surely makes you lose your mind. Life in the fast lane.
Welcome back to the Annie Fry Show. So, you know that Tony Bobulinski has been testifying today. Hunter Biden didn't show up. Man, what are the words that I could say here? Not that one. What a weenie. How's that one?
Nice.
I have small children in my house. I know all of them. Am I right, though? Is that a good explanation of Hunter Biden? Isn't he a weenie?
Yeah, he's a loser.
That one almost seems mean.
Yeah, well, you know what, though?
Too far,
I mean,
Brad.
this is the same guy who spent
Watch
all
your
this.
mouth.
Why don't they just have a public hearing? I'll show up to a public hearing. And they're like, all right, here's our public hearing. I'm not coming.
Yeah.
He can use words like that. No kids in the house. You know, he's allowed to use those words.
Loser.
I have to tell my dog earmuffs.
Yeah, I know. It's like Donald Trump's favorite word. I'm going to vote for the guy who calls
Loser.
everybody loser. Yeah, he's usually right when he says that. So we have an instance of Tony Bobulinski on Capitol Hill testifying. GOP oversight posts this video, and AOC is doing her AOC thing. And, you know, if she said the smartest thing that had ever been said by a human being, I'd still think it sounded stupid. Just the delivery, the full body of work. Like, if it came out and it was like, oh, man, that's a great point. I hadn't thought about it that way before. It would take somebody else saying it for me to hear it. And I'll say it this way. I'll flip the script on the politics of it. Katie Britt's State of the Union response, her delivery diminished everything that she said. If Katie Britt's speech was given over to Sarah Huckabee Sanders or like Megyn Kelly or something like that, and they delivered the speech, I would have listened to the words instead of the incredibly distracting way in which it was delivered, which made it ineffective. So that happens on the left and it happens on the right. AOC's a pro at it. The GOP Oversight Twitter account sent out Representative AOC asks Tony Bobulinski to list the crimes that he witnessed Joe Biden commit. So Tony Bobulinski complies. Listen to this.
Mr. Bobulinski, I heard your opening statement. It's submitted to the record, part of our proceedings. I have a quick question. Simple. Is it your testimony today that you personally witnessed President Joe Biden commit a crime?
I also want to reiterate that she said, like she's talking to a moron. She says, it's simple. And then she slows her words down so even an idiot can understand.
I believe the fact that he was sitting with me while I was putting together a business
Did you
deal,
witness the
but
president commit a crime? Is it your testimony today?
Yes.
And what crime have you witnessed?
How much time do I have to go through it?
It is simple. You name the crime. Did you watch him steal something?
Corruption statutes, RICO and conspiracy.
What is it? What is the crime, sir? Specifically.
You asked me to answer the question. I answered the question.
No.
RICO, you're obviously not familiar with. Corruption
Excuse me,
statutes.
sir. Excuse me,
FARA.
sir. Excuse me, sir. RICO is not a crime. It is a category. What is the
It's a category of crimes that you're then charged
You
under
have charges.
A long 100.
You know what? Just to interject here, Rico, how does everybody refer to what's going on in Fulton County, Georgia against one Donald Trump? Rico charges. But maybe if I slow it down so even the idiots listening can understand. And then I shake my head back and forth so you know that it's coming with a little extra spice.
You gotta
You
have
have
the.
charges, sir. Please
Want me to name the exact statute under RICO?
Yes.
Oh, well, it's funny. In this committee room, everyone's not here. There's over 18.
All right, sir.
So that's the end of that. But I just like, what is the meme like? So you might be wondering how I got here. She's wondering how she got there. She's like, that did not go the way I expected it to go. Tony Bobolinsky is, you got to think, if he believes what he's saying, and I believe that he believes what he's saying, because coming out with Tucker Carlson when Tucker was still on Fox and doing that initial interview, which I believe was before the midterms.
Yes.
It wasn't before 2020, was it?
It might have been, because I remember the very first thing I remember him is that press conference, and I remember his tie didn't fit right and his suit jacket wasn't right, and
it was like in a kind of an open room in a hotel.
Yeah, and he looked real uncomfortable doing it, but
I believe him. I believe what he's saying. That's a judgment call on my part. I'm sure people listening and chatting right now who don't happen to believe Tony Bobolinsky and can question his motives. But if you're in Tony Bobolinsky's position and your entire story is that, from Tony Bobolinsky, is that Joe Biden's brand is so big that they could make millions of dollars and more all across the world on the brand with some of our enemies. It's not high on the list of people who I'd want to cross. Like, who do you want to piss off today? Maybe not the people who are making dirty deals, willing to make super shady, corrupt deals with people who are our enemies. That's not the hornet's nest that you wake up and go, yeah, I'm going to kick this one real hard this morning. And that's what Bobolinsky does. He's straight to the point. He has his facts. And I have to think that in the course of time that has passed since he first came out with his face, with his name, talking to the press against the Joe Biden empire, family business brand, at this point, he's got to have built up a little bit of callus that's like, who's next?
Yeah, battle hardened would be
Let's go. And AOC's like, oh, I think I will take a shot at this. And Bobolinsky, he's not, but it's almost as if he's rubbing his hands together like, all right, this is going to be fun. Listing corruption statutes, RICO, and conspiracy charges, FARA charges. And the oversight committee, the GOP oversight committee tweets out, AOC then says RICO is not a crime. And the oversight committee uses a facepalm emoji. Imagine in the time where you had to get a quill to write a document and seal it with a wax seal that meant something and send it by four-legged creature for someone else to receive it and open it ceremoniously. The GOP oversight is sending facepalm emojis for congressional testimony right now about the highest levels of corruption that might exist in our country. We've come so far.
You love to see it, don't you?
I mean, at least it's entertaining. I don't know what the total outcome. A lot of this has been developing over the course of our show, and I'm looking forward to diving into the evening coverage of this. But there is no part of the investigation into Joe Biden and what has been alleged against him that I have felt like has been show-stopping, take Joe Biden off the hook. Joe Biden seems sketchier and dirtier and more corrupt with every new revelation. I don't know if that means that he's going to be impeached in the House and the Senate's going to convict him and he's going to be out, which would probably be like a solution for the Democrats right now. But he sure seems shady. And he also doesn't seem to have his wits about him.
No.
Peter Navarro should have just started shuffling around, wearing big platform shoes and being like, I don't know. And maybe he wouldn't have to go to jail.
Focus.
Maybe they wouldn't have prosecuted him.
Yeah.
He could
shake hands with people that aren't there.
You got to be like really nice to people, like handing out unwrapped toffees to people on the street and like, just have a great day. So he's well-meaning.
There's the
and
chocolate
kind.
chip ice cream.
And then someone says, we told you to stop giving out candy to people on the streets, and oh, I forgot. So he's forgetful. And then you don't get prosecuted in Washington, D.C. That's what you got to do. You just got to be a well-meaning elderly man with a poor memory.
Poor memory.
Peter Navarro dismissed it. It's absurd.
Yeah. Well, like, I watched this whole exchange, And I'm like, ooh, what's this? How's this going to turn out? Is Tony Bobulinski going to be able to? And he didn't just, he had it ready to go. He was locked and loaded. Like, what is the specific crime? And it's like, it's RICO, racketeering, you know, these sorts of things. And she's like, list me a crime. He's like, I just did. And she was so busy trying to get her. Ethan, I don't know if you pay much attention to this, but they always try to get their soundbite out of it. And he walked right in the middle of her soundbite and did a big old dance.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, good job on him. I do think that there's smoke there. I do think that there's something there. I do think this investigation is worth pursuing. There's as much evidence here as there is for anything Donald Trump is being prosecuted for.
Yeah.
It kind of reminds me of it was in the last presidential election, I believe, or it was in one of the VP debates, right, where Kamala Harris goes, "Excuse me, the woman is talking," and everyone was like, "Yes, she's so amazing."
And I
yes.
was like, "What is a woman?" Well, yeah. What a time to be alive. So weird. I wanted to do this one story before we get the results to the poll. Due to the response that I peeked at earlier, we're not going to cover Kate Middleton too much more. But if you want to get your results in and maybe sway us covering, if you're at least in the curious section of are you paying attention to Kate Middleton, go to the Andy Fry YouTube channel and vote. Listen to this story. This is on it's a Today story. Dad arrested after police say he called 18 or 19 times in under an hour to complain about his son's homework. Ohio dad was arrested after repeatedly calling a school and then the police to complain about his child's homework. Detective Sergeant Adam Price of the Oxford Police Department tells Today.com that Adam Sizemore called the police approximately 18 to 19 times in less than an hour. Price said it was disruptive. This is a K-5 schools. There's not an abnormal amount of homework. Sizemore tells Today.com in a voicemail that, quote, most of the accusations aren't true. I'm a single dad of a boy and a girl, and I'm just trying to do the best I can, and that's all I can do. People make mistakes. Like the world is on fire, but in Ohio.
Of course, Ohio. It's Ohio. It's always Ohio.
According to a police report sent to Today.com by the Oxford Police Department on February 29th, Adam Sizemore repeatedly called Kramer Elementary School in Oxford, quote, because his son gets homework, which takes away from the time he has with him after school, end quote. Sizemore was trying to reach Principal Mers, who was unavailable, according to the police report. After Sizemore was transferred to Mers' voicemail, the report said he started calling the school repeatedly. During these conversations, Sizemore cursed at the secretaries while making demands of them. According to the police report, a school resource officer spoke to Sizemore several times on the phone, instructing him to stop calling. The officer said that he noted that Sizemore's speech was slurred, asked Sizemore if he was intoxicated, and Sizemore clarified that he was high.
There it is. There's always.
I'm not drunk.
Yeah, that's so rude of you. Yes, I'd be drinking alcohol.
How dare you assume that?
Can I we don't have enough time to dive into this. We could maybe later. I'm against homework.
Oh, same.
Just all homework?
I don't think homework should exist.
I don't think there's a person on this planet that's as anti-homework as me.
Well, real quickly, and I would like to maybe talk about this a little bit more at another time. Go look at kids who are failing in school and compare the amount, the grades that they get on the work they're supposed to be doing at home when they have broken homes, irresponsible, absent parents, that they don't have the support at home to get the work done. If those kids could do that work, I am for a longer school day where homework could be done in school under the supervision of the people who are there to educate, and see how many failing students would immediately start to succeed, if not thrive, if they weren't reliant on a broken home system to get homework done, causing them to fail.
It's an interesting take.
No homework, please. All right, YouTube live chat poll. Are you paying attention to Kate Middleton? Ethan's a big fat no. Brad and I are both curious. 2% of you are obsessed. That seems like that's not even accurate.
That's just psycho.
26% of you are curious, and 72% said none. So basically, we'll just leave it until we find her, and then we'll tell you when that happens. Mark Reardon, up next.
We all hear the radio ads about the IRS. They tell you to be afraid, to be scared, and they try to frighten you into calling. I'm not here to do that. Tax Relief Advocates is different. TRA is here to tell you that if you owe money to the IRS, whether it's $5,000, $50,000, or $500,000, we have a solution. It doesn't matter if you're sitting in your car, at work, or with your kids. No matter where you are, call now. 800-575-6986. Don't lose hope. TRA can eliminate or reduce what you owe to the IRS. There is zero risk to you. If we can't reduce your tax debt, then you pay nothing. Our passion is taxes and helping individuals fix their IRS problems. We have a 5-star rating on Google and Yelp and an A+ with the Better Business Bureau. You don't need to be afraid of the IRS any longer. End your tax nightmare today by visiting us online at TRA.com or call 800-575-6986. That's 800-575-6986. Tax Relief Advocates. Real solutions for real people.
Jen Teskey and Remax Alliance. Easy to reach out to Jen for your home sale. If you're looking to list, if you're thinking about listing, considering it, or if you're looking to buy a home on the Illinois side of the river, you got to reach out to Jen Teskey, Remax Alliance, jenteskeyhomes.com. You can also call her or text her and get a hold of her right away. 618-541-1010. If you were looking in Edwardsville, Glen Carbon, Maryville, Troy, and Collinsville, those areas, or on the Illinois side of the river, Jen Teskey is going to be able to be an expert for you to make sure that she knows and explains to you, with love and kindness, of course, how to list your home for the top dollar, what you need to do to get it sold in the timeline that you're looking to get it sold. And I'm telling you right now, with springtime upon us, this is a great time to make this phone call. I trust Jen Teskey. She's a wonderful person and an even better realtor, and she's got the best team to support her. 618-541-1010. 618-541-1010. Online, easy to find right now at Jen Teskey, T-E-S-K-E, jenteskeyhomes.com.
Is your home, business, or church looking tired, chalky, or in need of curb appeal?